encampment. These are coming from CHP. These are coming from the CHP side of the wall, and shots are being fired into the encampment. These are not bullets. These are less lethal rounds that are being shot into the encampment. That might be what was catching the corner of my eye here. Something has been launched in there. It is creating a haze. We're now peering through the haze and trying to get a better look at both.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, it is a beautiful day. Well, sort of. Hi, y'all on the road. May y'all have a great day. We have a great day also. Morning, y'all. Hey, Shizzy, UCLA. Oh, yeah. That's what's going on right now in UCLA. Yes. Just so you guys are sort of up to date with what's going on. Yay. Hey, sure, sir, Shiz-a-lot. Good evening, good evening. Yes, I will have to jump out of here early today, but if this is still going on, I may just keep this running in the background just so you guys can sort of see what's going on in LA. This is not good. This is not what you want to have going on. Good morning, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Good to see you. Hey, everybody. Happy Thursday. What they're doing is they've been firing non-lethal rounds into the crowd. This has been going on for the past, at least over 3 hours now. They have come out in force. They're tearing this thing down. They're pulling it apart. They're getting rid of everybody out of here. We talked about this yesterday, that they're going to F around and find out. And these provocateurs of these kinds of things are not college students. And you can see how they're covering themselves. Yeah, these provocateurs are causing problems. And they're about to find out.
Starting to move away from the edge there as there's some smoke grenades going off. Not sure if it's tear gas or if it's just
helicopter that's flying over the top of them.
But we did find at least 1 or 2 people being placed in handcuffs when these CHP officers first arrived. Earlier, LAPD tried to make their way into the encampment. They actually were able to make their way up the staircase on the opposite side. And as they had to retreat because they were surrounded by protesters, there was some pushing and shoving, and one of the officers was hurt. Minor injuries. He was okay, but they did detain somebody temporarily at that point.
We don't have any issues. If you do have any issues with this stream here, we'll take it over on the Easy Rumble side. So just, this is breaking news.
Are starting to be moved and taken down.
Yeah, you had similar in Sydney.
Now within the perimeter of this encampment. John?
Some were homeless. Oh, quite a few were homeless. This is going on currently at USC. This has been building up overnight. It is currently about 3 o'clock in the morning there, if I'm not mistaken, just about 3:30 in the morning. And the police they're done. They're just like, we've had enough of your stuff. We're locking you all up. Here comes the riot police. They're going to handle this really, really quickly. See all the stuff that they're kicking out of the way? This is so these can't be used as weapons against the police. Yeah, that's currently what's going on. They pushed them back into the quad. This is not a small amount of police, and I'll show you what I mean, because this was this morning whenever I got up.
Effort.
So They built it up here. They built up their little chas. There's their in their quad. They've moved it into this. That is a large show of police.
The last time we've seen them,
and they're trying to flash them with lights, thinking that's going to do something to the police. And do you see how it currently is all lit up, all ready to go? They're out here doing their little protesting. Look, they're cold. Is what it is. They're out in the desert, and they've got their little chants together, and they've taken over this area. They've vandalized it, as you can see, all the vandalization that they've done to the building itself. This is showing no respect for this place at all. No respect at all. And as the police moved in,
to penetrate the perimeter of this encampment,
they'll just pull it all back. And this is current. This is what's live.
Yeah, we're talking about at least about 300 by my estimation. We've seen about 5 buses pull in and drop these officers off. Maybe
Fox
even
Live
more than 300,
has up
but
those
at least
pictures.
300 by my count here. And you
Thanks,
can see
Baker.
that now a little bit more of a line of scrimmage here as you have officers on the right, protesters on the left, and now a bit of a standoff right there at the perimeter. How much of a fight, how stubborn they're going to be is what we're going to find out here. But they are giving them every last opportunity to try and bring this to an end as peacefully as possible with as least amount of force as possible. You see them pulling the protesters. They're going to start doing it one by one and just peeling them off, hoping that they put up very little fight. And I think for the most part, we could say that they have not encountered quite the resistance that you would expect, although they clearly are not being welcomed in by this crowd. And so they are in a position where they are using less lethal rounds. You can see objects being thrown in their direction. There are water bottles. There are other objects. It looked at one point like there wasn't a fire extinguisher that was tossed over there. But you can see clearly now about a couple dozen officers on the right there, and several dozen near the top of the staircase that are trying to penetrate the entrance to Royce Hall near the top left-hand portion of your screen there. So there are 2 groups of officers in this shot right here, and you can see a combination of smoke and cloud that is now coming in the way here that we're trying to peer through to try and get a better glimpse. But they are face-to-face with these protesters who are holding up umbrellas.
Yeah, I don't see it. Send a link to me because I'm not seeing it.
But they're just kind of grasping
Fox
at
Live
those
has
and tearing
nothing.
those umbrellas apart as well. Here's a fire extinguisher being used in the direction of those officers, John.
Yeah, they're not showing anything. From what I can see, I'm not getting anything. But also, from what I'm seeing, is they've blocked this in our country. Yeah, they've blocked this currently in our country on some of this stuff, or I'm not able to pull it up. Let's see if we've got it. Here we go. There we go. Show this tab instead. Here we go. Yeah, this is what's going on currently. There you go. My gosh. Do you like this or the other one? Wow. This is insane. Thanks. Yeah, I've got it. Thank you, brother. Good morning. Good morning. This is not what you want to see on your morning. That's a little better. Friends, Romans, countrymen, howdy. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hopefully the sound is all good here. It hasn't gone too bad. Sounds like someone's getting a little peppered in their steak this morning. Yes. They love getting some. I like it that the reporters are standing that close. It's like I keep expecting this, him to get hit with a chair like this. But look at that, zip tied up. He is getting just wrapped up. China's the first one there to be reporting on this. Wow. Yeah, this is. Who let them on UCLA grounds? No, they've been there overnight. They encamped overnight. That's what's going on. And they probably just came in piece by piece.
They do have medics. We did see medics escorting some of the people out, and that's on this side. And there goes the protester right now.
I hope that you enjoy your time in jail. Oh no! Here comes someone kicking and screaming. Help me, help me.
So I just brought that shot.
Daddy's not going to help you. Daddy's not going to help you.
And escorted out of the encampment. The shots being fired because things are actually being thrown at the police. You can see the protesters on the ground getting handcuffed. Let's continue to watch all of this unfold.
Well, that's not handcuffs. Those are zip ties. Oh, look.
Real time, and you're getting it right here on Live Now from Fox.
Isn't she cute with her little bull ring? She thinks it's all fun and games up until the point where she goes looking for her job in about 10 years. Oh, aren't they special? They're touching me, they're touching me, they're touching me. Yeah, they'll be out in 24 hours. Yeah. Because this is California. If they tried this stuff in any other place, they wouldn't be so nice to them. Well, there's Meatloaf. Whoa, man. That guy looks like he's homeless.
So bringing those boxes full for you now as we are watching all of this unfold. And right now I'm going to bring in the audio from our content partners at Fox 11 LA.
Now,
as they are
I'm always suspicious whenever I see someone with their body covered up like that guy.
UCLA law enforcement now in breaking it up, arrests being made.
Yeah. We're breaking up this UCLA encampment. Isn't it awesome? Election year, peaceful protest season. Yeah. That is exactly right. Well, and you'll understand that these aren't even, I would almost guarantee that 90% of these are not students. I would guarantee that that's what's going to happen.
Cans, and you can see above there one of the protesters. They do have
masks.
Thanks,
Foster, for sending
there's a struggle going on over here now. But again,
wow.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, I just love the sound of tear gas in the morning.
They're shooting rubber bullets, but I can tell you from doing stories about rubber bullets, they are extremely painful. If they hit your leg, your arm, they could break your arm.
Well, if you got those little girly arms, they could. If you have little girly arms like Baker, then you might get your arm broken by a rubber bullet. Oh, they're shooting fire extinguishers at them.
Over and over, we were near the encampment for hours, and we kept hearing that speaker, the recording, letting them know what was going to happen, and they had time to leave.
Well, and that right there would be considered assault.
And
if you're firing a fire extinguisher at somebody, I would consider that assault.
One of the concerns, Gina, is those other protesters that are outside this
encampment. Going to be a lot of calling home to mom.
Many of them, as Alex
in
was
UCLA.
saying, have not left, but others
how many have very
and,
rich, influential parents? No, these aren't students. That's the thing, Baker. These aren't students. These are paid actors. They've got big money backing.
People who are on the outside of this encampment.
That's correct. That was the biggest concern because
and you notice this is
we were talking about possibly more than 1,000.
You haven't heard anything come out about Biden. Biden hasn't said anything.
Ready to rush in. They were very
because if he does, it makes him look like he's pro-Israel, and if he doesn't, it makes him look like he's pro-Palestinian. If he doesn't,
of the people
Some
that
people
were
will take it the
outside, the
other way.
supporters of the pro-Palestinian protesters, they ended up leaving.
Now, it's this is the kind of big money bails them out. Oh, they've got big money bailing them out. I mean, tons of big money coming. It is big money. We're talking these are heavily funded. They are well organized. This is, if you're wondering who this is Antifa without their masks on. That's what this is. They're using the same tactics, except they're not wearing any masks. All of these that you see here that are getting hauled out, they are Antifa without their masks on. Because see, if they would have showed up with their little black masks on, they would have known who it was. See, they're changing tactics constantly. These are the same people that you saw during the Summer of Love. They don't have anything to lose. They get paid big money to come in and do this. Good morning, Shissy. Yeah, they're George Soros employees. That's exactly correct. That is exactly correct. This makes me sick. Don't mind. Yeah, exactly. Well, and they ruin it for the rest of them that are actually doing some sort of peaceful protest. Can you explain what that is? Explain what is? What this is? Antifa is a myth. Remember? Yeah. No, this is straight up Antifa BS. They consider themselves anti-fascist. They will show Antifa. They consider themselves to be anti-fascist, but they're basically just a fascist group that believes that they have all the rights and abilities to disrupt. They're just paid to be disruptors. Imagine trolls. Think about the worst troll that you've run across on the internet. Someone that's just a real difficult person.
There's going to be a lot of questions there about that.
Gigi, the same question to you that we just talked about with Gina. Somebody
that's somebody that's going to be spending a little more time. These Antifa is just the same little group of people. They come in, they shroud themselves, they cover themselves. They get paid to do these things. You'll see them rise up again. They'll just keep building. They'll keep building. Whenever I see this, it makes me think a little more and more that they are being funded by not just the left, but the politicians on the left. But they're doing it in such a way that you don't see the money being brought in. Because who else is going to bail them out? Who gets them from point A to point B? These aren't your little hippy dippy smelling kid. The patchouli smellers. They're not that's not what these kids are. These kids are rabble rousers. And most of them are not kids. They're well into their adult ages. Oh, of course. Well, it's been going on all year, just in different places. Just the news doesn't report on it, and because they move around so much. Well, they do also. Some of these guys actually have real jobs. Usually it has a 3-letter in front of it, but they have real jobs. Because you'll see quite a few of them get arrested, but there's quite a few that you don't see ever made any public noise about. Yes. And do they get punished in a real way? Any real way? No, they don't. Usually it's just a small fine, just disturbance of the peace or some crap like that. It's going to be a non-felony thing. Which is all fine and good until one of these police officers gets hurt. Like, if he gets hurt and gets deleted, then it becomes a real problem for him. But they'll wash it away under the wells of justice, making it make sense because lawmakers can tighten their grips on the rest of us. There you go. That is absolutely correct. Agent provocation. This is being used to take away more rights. Watch what is being carefully shown to you, but watch what the reaction is. Exactly. Okay, that's insane. Pay to destroy property that they never use. Why? That makes no sense. Yeah, well, it is all about control. That's just like Baker said. Well, they have a right to peacefully protest and redress the government. But the only problem is this isn't the government they're protesting. This is a college they're protesting. And of course, where did all this cardboard come from? All these pieces come from? You know how to get that stuff to move out really quick? You know, little gasoline, little kerosene. You have the right to protest. This isn't that. It's an occupation. Yes. This is what they're doing is completely illegal. It is in no way, shape, or form legal. And, you know, you're seeing this on the outside. This is what you're seeing on the inside. This is what's going on the inside of all that group right now. So these are people that are further inside the little group. Yeah, this is Antifa. Notice everyone's wearing their little masks. This is Antifa right here. Okay, it must be because I'm Australian that I don't get it. They're doing something illegal with no consequence. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a limited consequence. Trespassing, that's really going to be about it. They're going to have a little bit of a thing for trespassing. But other than that, now you want to see something really cool. That guy sitting right up there, that's Antifa. Nice rubber bullet between the eyes. That's what I'm thinking. Give him a little headshot. Shot to the head. You're to blame. Or just reach up there with a grappling hook and pull that whole thing forward. Yep. This is, here we go. Sorry. I'll rewind it a little bit because this is awesome. Yeah, they're digging in here. This guy's sitting up there. I would give him a little two to the chrome dome. Rubber or something else. Well, I love 3M masks. Don't do shit to protect you from China syndrome or pepper. Yeah, they do a good job of hiding your face, don't they? They do a good job of hiding your face. So if I'm not mistaken, some of this was from earlier. This is so silly, so stupid. Hired goons being arrested by other hired goons. That paid goons being arrested by other paid goons. And just imagine the idiot student that got caught up in this stuff. Yeah, one of those rubber bullets will take an eye out. So what I would be suggesting is, where did they get the fire extinguishers? You also have the Fed front. Patriot front. We have Zero Petroleum crowd blocking our interstates soon. Yes. Some of those buildings involved were top secret research projects we're paying for. Where's the feds? It's still not government property. It is a private college. It's not a government facility. If it is a government facility, and they also know which buildings that they're not supposed to go into. They got those things locked down. They can't get in there. Yeah, this is silliness.
Can you imagine law enforcement was waiting for?
I can imagine the smell in that place with all those people that have been there all night long, just sweating all over each other. Yeah, these are Antifa tactics. This is all that it is. Good morning, Welsh lady. Good morning. Good to see you. Still trying to figure out how they got the plywood into there. Oh, same way with all the wooden pallets. Construction workers, construction helmets. They broke into there. These are people. Okay, so if you've got an active construction site, they probably got the plywood from the construction site itself. It looks like there's construction going on there. And this stuff was staged a while back. Oh, they've zip tied the stuff to the metal barricades. Here's what you do. You go right down the middle. Fire the little shots right in the middle and just work your way in. And now see, they should have never let it get to this point. Yep, there's the little surge. There it comes. And they got more plywood to put up there. They'll just keep putting it up. And all they have to do is just keep pulling it down, keep working their way through. It's a slow, long process. Yep, this is Antifa right here. That's what this is. And they're just going to clear it out. They will just walk right through here. That anybody tries leaving, arrested. Every single one of them arrested. Just fill up the jail. Jizzy, was it you who mentioned flamethrowers? Yeah, I don't know anything about those beautiful, gorgeous machinery, equipment things. I think it works really well. Anybody used umbrellas during the Summer of Love protest? They used umbrellas to cover themselves from above. They also used masks, made sure their faces were well covered, and then they also used the same tactics. They would set up these little encampments. These are the same people that were in Seattle. I guarantee a good portion of these were the same people that were in Seattle that were part of Chaz and Chop. And they want to set up a little encampment. Just got to say bulldozers are faster. Yeah, I mean, big body scrapers like Soylent Green. It is perfect for this kind of stuff. Good morning, Jamie. Good morning. Good to see you. Yeah, so this is what we got going on this morning. Crazy stuff. It is 5:51 in the morning Central Time.
At this point, we're not going to detain you. We're not going to arrest you. Just leave. And these people are just refusing to leave.
And they'll destroy the buildings.
The message is not that elaborate, but that is the gist of it. I would imagine if one of the protesters put their hands up,
what you have to deal
maybe
with.
They would just be escorted off the campus instead of resisting. And there
just fence them in with nuclear water. They'll run out of
flashbangs
paper
again.
in a few days and want to go home.
No, they won't. Device. And there's more tables, chairs, wooden pallets, those metal barriers, all of that. There is a protester straight ahead wearing a yellow helmet, and that protester is holding up a metal or plastic folding chair.
What I would be doing is all those people that got their little nubbins on those metal railings, I would just start walking up and smacking those metal railings with the baton. And get closer and closer to the nubbins.
Protester now holding one of those metal barriers that continue to try
can't hold
to
on to
stop
stuff
police
with
from
broken
coming
fingers.
into their encampment. At this point, I would say that's pretty pointless. Police are here; they're inside,
Your dog
and they're
is
taking
not.
people into custody.
You know, it's interesting, DG, is they're taking away their umbrellas and these pieces of wood. You can see more about the protesters. They all have these
start
helmets
eating each
and
other. No, they won't.
goggles
See, they already
and
got their
masks.
buckets.
What else do you see about the people? What appears to be hundreds of people still in there.
Oh yeah, there's.
They are well prepared. We don't have an exact count, Brooke, but from our Skyfox, our aerial view.
And right now they're telling them exactly how to go about doing
these
this.
These are not all UCLA students. They may not even be a majority of UCLA students. There are a lot of people that law enforcement
none of them.
and campus officials refer to as agitators inciting the violence. And I'm going to ask Tony
they're saying
to pan
these
off
are
to the
inciting
right.
the
You got a
violence.
clear shot of all of the protesters right
just
there
ask them to
wearing
leave.
those white helmets. They were well prepared, Brooke. They knew this was going to happen. And
This
they
is
are very
Antifa.
well organized, and they've been managing to have all these things brought into them. They've been bringing things in, and I understand at one point they were even
Aunt Jane,
using
not the Aunt Joan.
to identify
This is
who was really
Antifa.
a part of the encampment and who
Antifa is
wasn't.
here
So if you
in the
didn't
house.
have a wristband, you didn't get in. They are very well organized. This is not just a couple of students that said, hey, let's go protest. There's another fire extinguisher being set off right there.
We had just been saying that it's almost like they had been turning the inside of this encampment into their own little city at some point.
No.
And certainly,
And you let them do it. Good morning, Reese. Good morning.
There inside. We don't know at this point, and there's no way of telling whether or not.
This is why I, as a USC,
quote unquote outside agitators. At this point,
USC Trojans fan hate UCLA.
Crowd there over the past couple of days inside that encampment. Let's go
yes,
to
this is
Gina
crazy.
Silva,
Good
who's
to see you,
also on the
Washington.
ground there
You're
to get her
looking
perspective on what's taking place. Gina.
Good morning, Miss Snarkbase.
Gina, you're on.
He was just saying they threw a bottle of water, and the officer was telling us, be careful, because it could be urine, and he said something else that I couldn't make out. But they are...
Could be acid.
Concrete, that's right. We did see that earlier. Our security guard was actually the one who spotted the students, or maybe not students, but the people at the encampment. They were filling water bottles with cement and water. And obviously that would be something that would be very heavy, and if it hits your head, you could get hurt. But you can just see here they've been
you wouldn't
setting
get
off
hurt
those,
by a heavy
fire
bottle of
extinguishers,
concrete.
which of course makes it really difficult to breathe. And at one point, they tossed
Well, yeah,
the
because
fire
it's supposed to
extinguisher
remove the
in this
oxygen
direction.
from
We
the-
were able
from
to
the
move
area.
out of the way. Thank God we
And they
weren't
just-
hit. But if
they
you
just
get
keep
hit by
pulling
one of
back.
those, you could pass out. I mean, it's just it's dangerous, and you can just see the CHP officers there trying to get control of the situation, but they've got a long
you're gonna hit
day
me.
ahead of
You're gonna
them.
hit me.
And
Yeah.
we were talking about why did it take so
Make
long?
yourself
Why
a
did it
target.
take so long? Well, what we kept hearing was there was
Hit
a
'em
huge
harder.
concern with the supporters
Hit
because
them
there were
harder.
so many people here that were also not part of the encampment, but
How
they
dare
were
you
here
hit a
to
woman?
support the people in the encampment. And if the officers had rushed in like they are now, trying to
They've got their
remove the
little.
encampment,
You notice
there's
all
a
the scarves are
possibility
almost
of that
identical. Every single person
also
has one of these
rushing into
scarves
the
that
lawn
are
and then
identical.
causing even more chaos. So
There we go.
the idea was to kind of get them a little bit tired and maybe, here, another, what is that?
Got one.
Another
Got him
water
one.
bottle.
It's like fishing. There we go. Got one. Got
So
one.
the idea was to get them tired, and hopefully they would be gone by
Don't
the
get
time
panicked.
that this would happen.
All you have to do
so
is
that's what
just-
you're seeing right now.
just mute it.
I've looked back there.
fine, you're
Everyone
fine.
is gone.
Don't
they were
panic.
probably ordered out of here. And at this point, it's the media,
It's okay.
the officers, CHP,
It's okay.
there's LAPD.
A few
there
bottles of
are,
water.
Officers from different
It
agencies
could be
as
urine
well.
or
But as you can
concrete.
see, the ones that are taking down this
It's
encampment
like
are
it's like
CHP
watching
officers. And
coin-
it's taken quite some
Except
time.
these are
Gina, it looks
these are
like
human
they're making
coins.
progress on those barriers.
This is what this is like. This is like watching coin.
What do you think?
Just look at it like that. It's like a
Absolutely,
party.
they are making progress with the barriers, but
No
they
stress.
haven't, the students and the people
It's very relaxing if you think about it. All it's the sound of money rolling in. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Excuse me.
It's human coin pushers. This is what
Fire
this is.
extinguishers. And so we've seen a couple of the officers like wipe their eyes
How
and,
big it
and
is.
you know try to like spit out because they were struggling to breathe as well. So it makes it
How
a
did the
very
barriers
difficult
get put up?
situation.
They
But
put them up
it really
overnight
is
to
incredible what is
protect
happening here at
the
UCLA.
area to keep people
It's
out.
something that I will
never forget.
That's why they put
anybody
barriers
watching
up.
this will not forget Gina Silva. Thank
And
you
they
to you
use
and
these kinds of
Sam
things
Dubin for
against
all the
each
work
other.
you're doing out there.
But this is
you
just
think
coin
about the
pushers.
reason that CHP
It's
is
like
taking the lead.
whenever you get one that's wearing a
UCLA is
mask,
actually
it's
under the jurisdiction of the
like
UC
getting a
police.
quarter.
It's not under the jurisdiction
And
of
whenever
the
you get one of
LAPD.
these big chunks
That is
of
a state
plywood,
agency.
it's like a $5 bill.
CHP is the only
And
state
whenever you get
law
one of these
enforcement
little
agency. They have the
covers and
most
stuff like
tools
that,
of everything
it's
involved
like
in
a
terms of the state,
like a 20.
and they are the ones that are taking the lead.
And whenever
on
you get
this.
one of
Mario
the
Ramirez is
like
just
little
joining our
peons,
coverage.
you know,
Mario,
one of the
what are you
Antifa people,
seeing from
and if
your
you manage to like break a part of them, well, that means that, you know, it's like even better. All your nose and out through your mouth, Hagen. Dip your tongue, bring it down from the roof of your mouth, make happy, peaceful place. It's like coin pushers, just
police response. We were here talking about that on campus as there.
Yeah, all of this could have been avoided with a D11 dozer 40-foot blades. They will get out of the way, guarantee it. Yeah, they'll only do it once, that's for sure. They'll only do it once. Making it just the truth. Oh, wait, you can tell that they're well funded. Look at all that lumber. Yeah, that lumber is expensive. Just think, you can like use this to like house the homeless now.
That they are controlling the group. They are moving them back. We are just in front of Kaplan Hall.
Yeah,
and they've moved us towards
and then over here we
physics and science
we'll go
building.
to the
At one
peaceful
point,
ones
they
for a
were
little
pushing
bit.
this group back. You can see now
How's that? See, there's the peaceful ones. We got the peaceful ones. This is the calm before the storm. They're oh look, they got their little masks, their little blankets. Look, they're wearing their aluminum foil hats. Okay, I'm back in Seattle now. Okay. The ones with the rubber pew pew should start competing for High Point. I know. Yeah, this is what we got going on this morning. Water cannons, but they shoot soapy water. They scatter like cockroaches. Oh yeah, I walked through here in LA when I was there in 22. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. You go, oh wow, you know, I was here not too long ago, and it was so peaceful then. It was a beautiful campus. Well, they've screwed that up. Now they've got they've graffitied walls, buildings. Yeah, they've graffitied all over the place. Whenever you get in here and see what destruction was actually created on this, you'd be surprised. Good morning, Stacy Schmidt. It's good to see you. It is good to see you. Don't follow the news. When did this start on? It's been going on all night. Over 3 hours ago. I think we're at 4 hours now. So it's been going on for over 4 hours. Overnight, they kept increasing the amount of people that were coming in. You think Tug might be a little offended for the use of his umbrellas? I think so. He should be. Such gorgeous buildings. Oh, they destroyed them. Yeah, they destroyed them. Oh, good morning. Good morning. It is. Yeah, this is currently what's happening inside. If you want to see what's happening outside, this is what's happening outside. So
from the encampment here, this is a lantern. It's still lit. This just came flying from the encampment here.
Yeah.
So protesters are. Yeah,
you're lucky they didn't hit you with it. You are very lucky they didn't hit you with it, because that's what they would be doing. This is what is currently happening, and this is what happened yesterday. This is what happened yesterday. Except the police weren't there. This is why the police showed up today, so they could handle this stuff, because yesterday they attacked each other. I know, flashing back to when I was there walking through the same place 2 years ago. Good morning, hon. It's too early. Too early. Well, it's not early. They are the world's bratty children. Yes, they are. Very bratty, very crybaby-ish. They can't help it. This is who they are.
And campus police that they allowed all of this material. We're talking about tables, metal chairs, wood, metal barriers that we're seeing, easy ups, tents, umbrellas, things that you can't easily sneak into campus. And obviously police, campus officials should have known what this was going to be used for, yet they allow this to continue.
Yes, they do.
And what you allow to continue will exactly continue. Photographer Tony Butita, let's go down to this sign.
It wouldn't surprise me if it's just as bad.
A sign on one of those pieces of plywood. Bruins say free Palestine. A lot of signage on the metal, on the wood barriers that have been spray painted all through campus. Actually, yesterday we walked up to the cafe to use the restroom, and all the walls outside the campus cafe were spray painted with free Palestine. We'll send it back to you.
Yeah, Gigi, we were talking to Gina, and I could see her eyes watering. She was saying
this is not
breathe because of what was
this is
in the
not
air
somebody
around
that respects
her.
their
What is it
college
like,
campus.
you know, for you?
This is not somebody that respects their college campus. It would be like, hey, stop that. That lady is saying what I was thinking too. Yeah. Oh no, if this happens at USC, it would result in pew-pewing. It's located in the hood. No. Well, we hope not. We don't want that to happen. No pew-pewing.
Set off those fire extinguishers, but thankfully it's nothing worse than that, and it quickly dispels. Now, you see the strobe light right there? They continue to use strobe lights, and they continue to use flashlights, and they're flashing them right at officers' eyes. When the media was here
the
earlier,
officers
they
are
were doing
used to
that
it.
to television cameras, and they also said, you know, that they want to get the message out, but then they do that, and you can't get a message out when that's shined in your face, and they're doing that to the California Highway Patrol officers right now. The group of protesters is getting smaller, but it is still quite large as police continue to dismantle the encampment here right in front of Royce Hall.
This is definitely going to take some time here, but we could just
No, it shouldn't take a whole lot of time. You should be able to just walk right in there. Bulldozer works really fast. Flamethrowers are even quicker. You get one little portion of it lit up. The only thing is they're sort of like crabs. If you shave off half and light the other half on fire as they come running across, you can hit them with hammers. I mean, isn't that how you're supposed to get rid of crabs? That's what I was told. I don't know. Maybe somebody can confirm. UCLA. This is UCLA. And they're trying to get these idiot camera people out of here. Jeez. Morons. Like, leave. Houston has got a slight drizzle. Las Vegas is fair with a 68 degrees. Miami is partly cloudy with 76 degrees. And Milwaukee has a haze, 51 degrees. Minneapolis, haze at 55. New Orleans, partly cloudy, 75 degrees. New York City, fog, 54 degrees. Orlando. I could do this all that. Just watching them be idiots is hilarious. Should I get my radio announcer voice? Make that happen? Should I do it? Do the like I'm reporting from there or something? This level of ignorance in its entire movement astounds me. I have compassion for those who are caught in crossfire in Palestine, but this is where it gets a little funky crazy, because they don't really care. See, we're gonna have a little bit of fun. Wait, you want to hear it? Well, here we got these idiots that are just running across, acting.
These idiots running across, acting a fool. We don't know what to do with them. They're afraid of.
Oh man. Yeah, this is. I love it. I get a kick out of it every single time. These are foolish people. They can't help it. They're just foolish. What do we got? Anything
right
new
now?
that
All
going
I
on?
see is a sea of CHP officers dismantling the encampment. You can see that they moved in fast. As soon as you saw them walk in, they went right and started taking down the plywood and tossing it away. They told us to move back, and now they are moving closer to the students.
They're telling you move back so you don't get hit with a damn piece of plywood
in the opposite direction.
or concrete water bottle.
This group of CHP officers arrived was them saying, "Please don't arrest us. Please don't arrest us."
When we get they're throwing pieces of plywood. These are going to be used later to house the students. They're also removing all of their poop buckets, and they have round the clock surveillance. They're removing their tents, or as we like to call them, idiot proof covers. They got these on sale at Walmart. They were brought in for just this particular purpose. They felt like in case it rained, they needed to be well covered. They have zip tied these pieces together because it makes for a greater display of things being torn apart. They have not been able to, we call those mass idiot covers. They've had the idiot covers. We have our cameraman here with his little press badge. Fred, he's trying to pull it out of here so he can get in and get a closer shot because he's feeling left out, and the weight of the world is upon him. Amazon Prime free delivery is not going to help them out today. We'd like them to, but they did come. Their plan was to construct something. As you can tell by their construction helmets, they came to construct something. They've constructed what we like to call a tent city. They inside these tents is where they keep their most prized possessions. There's puppy dogs in there, and they keep the puppy dogs in there just for this reason. Of course, we have people up in the higher balconies. They're not supposed to be there. We're told that a few of them have because they're so into Palestine, they want to be treated like they're in Palestine, and they want to make sure that we get the gays up there first, so that way we can show them the quick way to Allah. And of course we keep them up there just to be, first in line. We think that it's the better place to do. We have our live reporters on the ground. I mean, he is literally on the ground. He's writhing in pain as he took a water bottle to his melon. It was filled with it looks to be concrete. He says the pain is excruciating, that he doesn't feel his left eye. We don't know what more we can do to help him out. The campus is open to students, faculty, and staff with USCID and to registered guests. Oh no, they've been piling in all night, and they'll leave this destruction and they don't give two damns about it. Yeah, this is if you'll notice, most of them are wearing the same outfits or as close to the same outfits as they can. They have been wearing their battery operated headlights so they can see in the dark. You won't see any high fancy falutin what do you call those things, infrared goggles. They won't be having any of those here. But they are confident in their ability to protest. This has gone from protest to an occupation. And this is what they meant by occupational therapy. And they learned occupational therapy from this. Good morning. That's always a deterrent. Good morning, Shizzy in chat. No, I'm just giving you a hard time. We're having fun. That's where they're keeping their puppy dogs made of plywood and crap cans. Shizzy? Yes. They use the puppy dogs as shields. I mean, you would not want to arrest somebody with a puppy dog, right? You can't come in here firing tear gas. You might hurt the puppies. I mean, that's the tactic they use in Palestine. Hide behind the children. Hide behind the women and children and fire rockets into Israel from there. Isn't that what you're supposed to do? Except they couldn't get women and children. Well, they did get some women, or as close to women as they possibly could. But puppies are such more available. They do keep those loaded up. They have them ready in their vans. Don't mind the mattress in there. They come seeking Jamie's. The dogs are smart enough to run away from those people. Well, said they were alive. Just in, Lynette Preston of Otter Creek, Florida is mad running to the courthouse. Says a protester stole her poop bucket. Got the poop bucket. Got the poop bucket. Yeah, they're still looking to be reunited with each other.
A lot of progress. They've taken down one entire wall so far. This is all happening right between Powell Library and Royce Hall. And if you're just waking up, if you live in the Wilshire Westwood area, you're probably hearing those flashbangs going off. You just heard one there. You're probably wondering what is going on. Well, those are used to distract, and they're being fired from.
So just think about this. It won't be long before somebody fires off some fireworks. Oh, maybe they didn't bring any fireworks because they knew they were going to be in this closed campus. They were going to have the. I'm just waiting to see what happens whenever they surge one way or the other. It looks to me like they're going to be doing this for a little bit, and probably not going to see anything more. Well, see, if you go to the local the local dog shelter, those dogs are just happy to be anywhere. And you can, and then they also provide sustenance, and you're not worried about it because you'll be in jail. The dog will be back in its little confines. But I mean, I doubt that that they're worried about it. And people, of course, got these little N1 masks thinking it's going to protect them from gas masks. No, that's not going to protect you from gas. Well, congratulations. 1 week away from your anniversary of your great uterine escape. The countdown begins. The final countdown. Oh, yeah. Good to see you, Risa. That's awesome. I'm praying for you and your, right, probably be your first meets usually are. Oh. It's a very special memory these fools are destroying. Yes. Well, that's what they're there to do. Just imagine any place that every hand that you've shook has probably held a penis. Just saying. That's an interesting thought. Sorry, that's probably some derps will think it will protect them from the drinking Corona. I don't understand. Why wouldn't they? Well, you could just be like Captain Halfnut and just drink through your straw or whatever. think that's what he does. Oh, what do we got here? Let's see.
Into one of their buildings over there. But here, over the course of several days, this encampment had turned into sort of a fortress, so to speak. And I think officers here were just a bit concerned that this could just keep growing, and it was escalating to what could potentially be a more dangerous situation.
The protesters there were given a long time to kind of entrench. Now, in Columbia, there was just such a clear line that they had crossed in going into that university building. It was breaking and entering. And then they tried to occupy it and blockade it. And at that point, that's when the university called authorities in to clear out not just the building, but the encampment as well. UCLA's situation is different in that you have a group of folks that are outside. Now, you know, we have a tradition in this country of giving students a lot of latitude at college protests, but, you know, at some point, these colleges are just deciding, I suppose, that enough is enough, and a lot of it may have to do with the criticism that the university and police got at UCLA for not going in as those skirmishes played out, 24 hours.
Let's see if we can
Doug, we want to check in with you throughout the morning on this. Thank you. Let's go back to Gina Silva on this. Gina, you know, we were just talking to Doug Luzader about this idea that the difference between what's happening in Los Angeles and what happened in New York just a couple days ago, officers having to go into Hamilton Hall on the university, on the campus, Columbia's campus, and now here they're having to take down a building, essentially. Dismantle one.
That's exactly what... Oh, yeah, and that's what they've been doing. You've been watching it live. I want to show you this. Take a look.
So
These
what we're
are
going to do is we're going to share this out.
The shells, I'm sorry, from the
shots fired. Shots fired.
That have been going off all night long. They're
we're going to
all
share
over
this
the
thing
ground
out.
here, and that's what we have been seeing. You've been hearing
Share
all
it
that
out on
loud
X.
bang. These are some of the signs. Freedom is everybody's
See if we
business.
can't get some more folks in here watching this.
I
think we need to have more people.
This side, that was part of the encampment, and it just continues. Right now, they've taken out all of the plywood. You can see all of the CHP officers, and right now they're facing off with the remaining protesters who are just standing there, refusing to be arrested at this point. They're just standing there. And earlier, as I said, they were saying, please don't arrest us. Right now, they were chanting Free Palestine, and they are, you know, it's a standoff.
Yeah,
so at some point, the officers are going to take them in.
We've almost, Gene, almost feel like we've moved into a different stage of this operation to dismantle this encampment, because there had been concern with that growing,
this is awesome.
Barricade.
This is funny.
They couldn't see what was happening inside. It's certainly from a strategic standpoint.
UCLA hashtag UCLA ghetto uprising.
No telling what they might have had inside, but now that that barrier is down, they're standing
Anti-fan has
face
fallen.
to face with these protesters inside this encampment.
If you didn't want to be arrested, why did you start doing this shit?
What to do next and how to
be nice to the new doctor when they pull out those rubber gloves. Otherwise, good luck with that, as it turns out. Yeah, be safe. You just do not arrest me, sir.
It's going to be interesting.
No, that's how it goes.
One of the things one of the protesters was saying, the whole world is watching. The
Be
whole world
nice.
is watching. As
Hey,
if,
Max.
you know, adding pressure to this. Like, if you
Oh my
treat us
gosh.
poorly, the whole world is going to see that.
Max
So,
Murrah.
yeah, at some point we're going to see the officers make the arrest. How they will do it remains to be seen.
Gina, from your view, have you seen many protesters being brought out? I'm just seeing officers with hundreds of zip ties prepared for this, but have you seen one by one anyone being
This
brought
is
out
hilarious.
Oh, yes. In fact, one of our, I believe, like our second live shot, we showed you a group
Let's see
of the people that were brought out, believed to
who
be
we can
students.
stir up
They
today.
were sitting on the ground, and then they were taken away, perhaps put in the buses.
You think the expert will join me?
Processed. Again,
I think he's still
these
asleep.
students, and maybe not students who were part of this protest, they were warned and they were told that if they did not leave, they would be arrested, and that is exactly what happened to them, and that's exactly what's probably going to happen to these students as well. So again, they're holding the line there. You can see the officers are face to face with the protesters, and the protesters are refusing just to give up peacefully. They're just standing there at this point. They've been ordered to walk away, go with the officers, and that is not
Let's see what
happening. You can
happens.
see the zip ties there. They're
Here
ready
in
for
about
the
half an hour, I'm
arrest.
supposed to
There are
have
protesters
somebody showing
inside
up.
that encampment. As we said, the barricades
Look
are
at
down.
stuff. So
Now
this
they're
will
standing
be
eye to
playing
eye
in the
with those
background for
protesters,
quite a
and it's a
bit.
standoff of a different sort now, so to speak, to see what officers
This is
are going to do. There are also
crazy.
protesters
Crazy
outside the
stuff.
encampment. We've got Mario Ramirez. He's about several hundred yards away from that encampment. He's looking at the situation there. Mario.
Yeah, we're just outside Kaplan Hall, and you can see the group of protesters that we're with, or people here on campus, some that were part of that pro-Palestinian encampment demonstration just outside Royce Hall, and they're basically standing off with this group of CHP officers. Appears to be a little over 40 CHP officers. We know that police began to move in on pro-Palestine protesters around 3 o'clock this morning, so a little over an hour ago. And UCLA campus police as well were here after demonstrators refused to clear out despite being ordered to leave. That encampment was declared illegal, and an unlawful assembly as well from police was declared. So we're seeing this group here at times chanting. They were being pushed back towards the physics and science building a little earlier. And it seems like some of them have dispersed, maybe trying to figure out another way to get closer to that encampment. But as of right now, they are being kept here along Portola Place and Dixon Court, just outside Kaplan Hall. And we do see a few, at least 2 officers here with zip ties, ready to go. An indication that they are ready to take people into custody, detain people here on campus if they have to.
Yeah, Mario, on that note, you imagine this kind of line up, face-to-face standoff is not going to last long. Are the officers saying anything to these protesters or spectators outside of the encampment?
Earlier, they were just saying, move back, and they were slowly moving this group back. Other than that, they haven't said much. We saw additional CHP officers, maybe about a dozen, a little more, arrive to support this line here just behind them. But aside from that, we haven't heard them really give them any instruction on where to go or how to leave campus. Just saying, move back, move back.
We're going to bring in Gigi Graciette.
So what
She's
I
been there
put in
all
there
morning
on
long.
the
And Gigi, we were talking about
all my peoples there,
it
says, "Come watch Antifa get arrested."
The encampment there, the barricades are down, and now they're standing eye to eye with these protesters, and everybody wondering what's next.
Yeah. They're cost-effective, easier to carry.
A woman appearing to want to simply walk away from all of this.
Nope.
She didn't want to be arrested.
Nope.
She just sort of gave up. She was escorted away from the encampment. Not arrested.
That's because she's a
not
Fed.
Detained, no zip ties. They simply escorted her away. And you are looking live at the California Highway Patrol face to face with the protesters, most of them in white and yellow helmets. The protesters here in the encampment. We see conversation.
White and yellow helmets.
Unclear, obviously.
Sorry for the questions. I've never seen anything like this
hear
down
what
here.
they're saying, but it is
That's because you're
one last opportunity.
they're a little less tolerant
Simply
than
walk away and be escorted off campus.
you. Don't have
Just a
freedom
short while
to do
ago,
this.
They
That's
played
why.
a pre-recorded tape from UCPD, the University of
we won't be
California
able to
Police
connect
Department.
it.
Captain
Break it up.
Gibson.
See how you feel.
He announced that this was an unlawful assembly. He declared, he read out the penal code that they are in violation of, and asked them once
What they're
again
doing
to please leave the campus peacefully. Again, we saw one person just a short while ago, a woman, talk to an officer, and she was escorted away, not detained. Most of the people that are being taken away are
New Orleans is a trip Mardi Gras. You want to trip here is be careful. Louisiana has amazing forests, remote swamps, and beautiful mossy.
Officers in these black tactical uniforms then hand them off to other CHP officers that are standing by to take them to the jail buses.
Three-letter agents get escorted. The rest of you
So unclear what's happening right now. We do see some conversation at times
We're the green hat lawyers.
protesters and officers. All the protesters have their arms linked together, and it is
so
eye to
linked.
eye right now. And you can make out the protesters because most of them are wearing white helmets. They have masks on. Some have
Some of them have. Some of them are wearing cheap, horrible gas masks.
masks on, yellow and white helmets, face to face right now on the campus of UCLA.
You know what those helmets are really good for? You hit those things on top really hard, man, they will ring your dome really quick.
You know, it's interesting hearing about a young woman
who
decided that she didn't want to be there.
We get the mask. Why the helmets? Because they are Antifa.
These protesters are. They've got these helmets. They've got these goggles. But in history,
this is the tactics of Antifa. So Antifa, she likes to wear these little plastic helmets because they're really cheap. You can get them really expensive from any hardware store, and that way, whenever they fire a rubber bullet at you, it doesn't hurt as bad. But these are paid protesters. I mean, you can spend about 20 grand in this short period of time. You could have them completely loaded up with all the gear that they need, and that also pays for their bail. That pays for everything. They're good to go. It's California. They're breaking Corona rules still. Yeah, well, Wish.com, masks and helmets.
The bottom line is they want to clear the place.
There you
if people
go.
want to leave, they're going to let them leave. If they don't, they resist.
Sure,
There's a number of those that are going to lock
no, they
arms,
won't.
gonna resist, and there'll be
They should
plenty of
arrest
people
every
going to
damn one
jail.
of them.
But if someone has the idea, you know what, maybe I really don't want to go to jail. Maybe I don't want to have that on
Yeah,
my
you
record.
do.
Maybe I want to graduate and get a career in life. And maybe
No.
I don't want to have myself tarnished
No.
by this.
Too
I'll
late.
leave. But as we see,
Too
there's
late.
some hardcore people, and I
Too
question how many
late
of those
for
are actual
this.
students or actual people who want to go to jail.
It's too late
the
for that.
cause that they're there
Too
to make a
late.
statement.
That is my thought. Too late. You're asked to leave if you didn't leave.
And you see the CHP in those tactical uniforms.
To the sea
which they
and
only use for
Intifada
situations like
and
this.
yeah.
They're there along with the backup from the LAPD, the Sheriff's Department, and other agencies.
We're all part of the lollipop. Yeah.
This will be
How does that? I
encampment
think
which is turned
I have a way of doing
probably a
this.
health
Let
hazard
me see
and
if I
everything
can.
else will be cleaned out, and the people who are
I think we can do
will be
this.
taken
Let me
into
see.
custody. If they want to fight the officers are trained to
Let's
take
see
them
if
into
it
custody.
works.
If they just want to stand there and be handcuffed and taken away in the plastic cuffs, they will accommodate. But there's plenty of officers to contain it and to clear this area. It's not like they need more resources. They've mustered those resources the last 2 days. So it's just a matter of time until those hardcore that don't want to leave will be arrested, physical arrest, and taken into custody and booked and charged with the offense that they're being charged with.
Everyone arrested should have to work before his fire line for 5 years, but they won't be arrested. Yeah, they even got some illegal in there. Yeah, they got some illegal dude. That is so shitty. He probably doesn't even speak English. Wow, he just looks confused. Like, look at this shit. Like, okay, dude just got paid a few $100s. This guy right here looks like he's like, dude, why am I here? I don't even understand what they're saying. They told me that I could get my green card if I showed up. That's what this guy looks like. Like looking like, dude, what happened? Just like poor dude, man.
Down, and that presented
I feel
a
sorry for him.
danger and a lot of uncertainties when it came to moving in on this.
He's like, I just thought I was getting my green card. I don't understand why are they doing this to me? Why are they holding me up? So bad.
Encampment, there was concern that they might have had, weapons inside.
Man, I should have
spray, that sort of thing. They were throwing bottles at some points during the morning. Now that the barricades have been taken down, and it looks like
these are all Antifa people.
With these protesters, and
these are Antifa people. This guy identifies as a woman. That is a very large woman, just saying, but identifies as a woman, and they have no interest in Palestine. This is just a place to go party. They're getting paid to do this. No hablo inglés. He's going, what? Thank you.
They're locking arms now, not wanting to be arrested.
And then we've got Yo Mama Arafat over here. There's Yo Mama Arafat.
So they're digging in their heels there. What do officers do next? Because
pretty simple. You have this thing called a baton. They have this plastic helmet, and you start helmet checking. You all you say is we are doing OSHA checks, and then just start doing the overhead thing and seeing how many of those helmets are OSHA approved. You know, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, does that not work for you guys? You don't like OSHA approved helmets? I'm thinking they're necessary. OSHA approved helmets.
In the sense that it hasn't escalated into violence.
Ever seen this? See the video of the Antifa dude trying to load an AK? It is hilarious.
Taking these people and placing the cuffs on them.
Come on, Shiz, you can forget that dude in pigtails.
Those people with locked arms, if they don't comply and leave the scene, they will then be physically arrested.
No, they should. No.
Now, there's other officers who will be engaged.
Jesus Christ, they will be physically taken away and arrested if they don't leave the scene. How many warnings do you have to give them? It's like, okay, you guys were given warnings. It's over. And this is where you walk in, you proceed to start swinging those batons in the most violent way. You use your tasers. Make sure that you've got those things loaded as high as you can, because as each person is locked arms and touching each other, the person at the end of the line is the one that's going to get shocked. And as they get shocked, they'll drop. And then as they drop, then you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again. You just keep loading up on tasers. There's also sound devices that you can use that will remove these people. And you can make them basically throw up crap themselves and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's a hollow sound when the stick hits. It is a completely hollow sound. Pigtails are great for dragging them away. Well, only by their ass.
Engaged. The initial team camera now with the PR24.
All right, I'm going to grab some more coffee and let this play for a little bit. I'll be right back.
There will be maybe the arrest teams or officers in those uniforms versus the tactical uniforms you've seen with the California Patrol will be the arrest teams that will go in and make the actual arrest. And again, you see just a few of the officers. There's hundreds of officers that are assigned different aspects of this, take down this encampment. And it's all being done with a commanded level, giving those directions. Now we're going to win with this and go in with this. It's all tactically established, and there's a procedure how they're going to follow. So what they want to do is make sure it's safe, secure for the officers. They'll go on and start making a mass arrest.
All right, so at this point, it looks like it's a waiting game here, a static situation, and those officers there standing on those lines waiting for the order to move in and make the arrest. So far, that's not happening. We're going to go to Gigi Graciette. She's been there throughout the morning to get her take on the situation, what she's looking at right now. Gigi.
And you are looking live at, okay, those are protesters, and they appear to be carrying metal and wooden pallets. Unclear if they're trying to fortify that end of the protest. We saw them throwing some umbrellas. Unclear exactly what they're doing right there. They're on the sort of on the porch of Royce Hall here in Westwood. Now, at the same time, and you won't be able to hear it, there is a message playing from Campus Police, Captain Gibson, telling people
nothing spectacular.
They need to leave. They're
Leave.
being arrested and being charged.
No, they've already they are. It is done playing. It's time to be arrested.
Regardless of your purpose, in violation
Doesn't
of
matter.
the penal code,
Penal. They said penal.
you must leave immediately. Let's
Yeah.
go back down to the
They should.
protesters here on the
Why are they
ground.
playing?
We don't know exactly what
Why are they
part
playing?
of the process this is. They are all linking arms.
Don't care.
They are holding,
It is
some of them are
past
continuing
due
to hold
time.
pieces
Make them
of
go
wood.
away
Over here to the left, you
and
see
kick them
a
to
protester
the side.
with
They're
goggles,
done.
a piece of wood
Over.
in front of him. You may not be able
Over.
to make him out right
It's
now.
over for you.
And he's right in front of the California Highway Patrol. He's wearing a white helmet right there, and he's holding
Yeah,
a
you
piece
don't play
of
this stuff.
plywood in front of him. And it's hard to see them, but apparently police are regrouping. I don't know what the next strategy
Yeah,
is.
just-
but all the
just move on with your day.
Obviously not leaving. That message continues
Obviously already
to play
told them.
very loudly for them, but they are not moving.
Too late.
Dennis Zine,
Too
Gigi,
late.
this next stage is to get arrest teams to
Too
come
late.
in, and that there are more officers
You screwed
at
up.
the ready ready to go in, but they're just waiting for that order,
let's see if we got
to move in and to actually go in and make these arrests. But at this point, it looks like it's another sort of standoff between these.
See if we can make something here.
Protesters.
Gigi, from what you can you see any other law enforcement actually moving in?
No, there is a California Highway Patrol arrest team there in their standard beige uniforms, and what happens is the officers in the tactical gear, those black uniforms, they're dismantling. They continue to dismantle the barrier, and then they take people into custody and they hand them
guys
off.
are
Things look like
fools.
they're getting very tense right there near Royce Hall. We just saw a bottle fly with some water, some type of liquid into the crowd.
Some type of liquid into the crowd.
Okay, I see. It's very hard to make out.
Yeah, it's very hard to make out because we're foolish idiots.
Apparently from police that are moving in. You see the police
all waiting on civil rights violations to sue the cops.
to the right with their black helmets on.
Doesn't matter.
Protesters continue to use umbrellas. Umbrellas have been
Nominate Shizzy to operate the sound machine to make them all be themselves. Do I hear a second?
You can see the umbrella there.
You could probably lure them out with a pizza, just saying. Nah. Only if it's a vegetarian pizza. Do you think they've ever eaten any meat? Well, except for whenever they spend their time in prison.
Also on the campus, a little further away from the
They like Hot Pockets.
There are more protesters there outside the encampment, and officers there as well.
What's the point of the umbrellas? Well, two things. It can be used as a weapon. So partially, it can be used as a weapon. Also, it makes it hard to see what they're doing whenever they're doing bad things. It hides them from the camera. Oh yeah, this guy's about to F around and find out. He's like, oh no, start hitting them with rubber bullets and see how fast they don't back off.
Yeah, it appears the protesters once again tried to sort of fortify themselves there on the porch of Royce Hall there. And to our
Big boy's
left,
about to
I'm
get
gonna
his
ask
ass
Tony
whooped is
to
what's going to
pan over
happen.
to the left. They've opened
Big
this
boy right
area
over
up.
here.
It's a little difficult. There's a lot of media
He's about
here.
to get.
There's a
He's
lot
about
of,
to find out.
police, so,
He's
we're going
about
to
to
stay
find out.
focused on that because there appears to be a scuffle breaking out over there. Let's try to get a better look here.
Yeah.
Now, so what we saw were protesters still had some of those.
And so all this destruction of property, this is stuff that they've broken into the building. They've taken things out of the building, and they're just destroying it. Yeah. Great work. You just put yourself in a corner. Go get them.
Yep. Meanwhile, the other protesters that are all locking arms, everything seems calm here. They're face to face with the California Highway Patrol, but no one else giving up. Now, if you're just tuning in to Fox 11,
there's a baby carrier.
we're live on the campus of UCLA as police move in to dismantle.
Oh, they're
this
moving in, all
pro-Palestine
right.
encampment that
They're
has been
moving
here
on in.
since last week. If you live in the immediate area, you may hear what sounds like fireworks. Those are
they're getting crazy.
by police. They're
Great
used
work.
to
You just put yourself in
distract.
corner. Go get them.
Fired high into the
Oh,
air,
I'm
so you
tired. I'm
may
going
be
to go
seeing
home.
those flashes of light.
Tired. Got to go
Hear what
home
sounds
to
at
the
times
lovely
like
baby. She's
fireworks
going to
that is
set
all
me so
coming
free.
here
Don't worry,
from the
back home.
UCLA campus. If you're just tuning in, that is the
Oh,
California Highway
they
Patrol
locked arms.
taking protesters into custody. They were warned by the campus on Wednesday.
Yeah, because locking arms really helps. It just exposes you.
The campus never gave them an exact date, but they've been getting
Surprised they haven't lit anything on fire yet. Oh, that's coming.
the encampment, and what they did yesterday, and we
Don't worry,
saw them
that'll be
was
coming.
fortify it, bring in even more wood, pallets.
Yeah, all of these, 30-plus-year-old men and women, they are definitely students there at this campus. They're wearing the same outfits that they wore for the Summer of Love, made by the same people. It's like, hey, it was just last year.
For whatever reason, she was escorted. She was not detained by police. She was
We'll
simply
just keep that on the background because I'll explain to you a little bit. So this is also from this came from Volstorm, just so you guys can sort of see the same thing that we were talking about yesterday. So mute that so I don't have to listen to them. We'll come back to that in a second. So over the half the people arrested on Monday at a University of Texas at Austin pro-Palestinian. Here, I'll move myself to a different corner of the world here so it looks a little better. No, that's too big. No, that's too small. There we go. That looks better. Over half the people arrested Monday at University of Texas at Austin pro-Palestinian demonstration had no campus ties, according to UT and campus officials. A university statement Tuesday stated that 79 people were arrested and 45 of them had no affiliation with UT Austin. It's not clear what charges they're facing. Of course, these numbers validate our concern that much of the disruption on campus over the past week has been orchestrated by people from outside of the university, including groups with ties to escalating protests at other universities around the country, a statement noted. Following a nationwide trend of protests on college campuses, 2 large demonstrations have taken place on UT's Austin campuses in the last week, one Monday and another April 24th, as people have rallied to protest in the war against Gaza and demand the university system divest from weapon manufacturers. Concerns have been raised among free speech advocates as dozens of state troopers have made arrests on campus. On Monday, demonstrators began setting up an encampment on South Lawn before campus police issued an order to disperse. And did they listen? No, they really didn't listen. They paid no attention. Officials say weapons including guns. What the hell happened? Oh, there we go. There we go. Officials say weapons including guns, buckets of large rocks. Oh, what do you now you're wondering what those buckets were there for? Mallets and chains, wood planks have been confiscated from these protesters. Officials allege the staff have been physically assaulted and threatened, and police have been headbutted and hit with horse excrement while their police cars have had their tires slashed with knives. Officials believe these actions are orchestrated and led by people outside the university. They noted in a statement they will continue to safeguard the free speech and assembly rights of everyone on our campus while we protect our university and students who are preparing for their final exams. Well, kiss your final exams goodbye. You should be removed immediately from the college if you join in on any of this shite. The Kevin Altifa, I'm going to just say Kevin Antifa, chairman of the UT Systems Board of Regrets, said in his own statement Wednesday that any attempt to shut down or disrupt UT operations will not be tolerated. He said free speech is violated when it includes threats to campus safety and security or refusal to comply with institutional policies and laws. Do you think these people care? They don't give 2 shits about you. Altifi said he was working at UT Austin. President Jay Hartzell and other officials will not acquiesce to the decisions to protect the campus community. The chairman added that officials will continue to call on the state's police department of public safety when needed. Governor Greg Abbott posted on social media last week that students joining in hate-filled anti-Semitic protests at any public college or university in Texas should be expelled. The governor issued an executive order in March aimed at fighting what his office called an increase in anti-Semitism in Texas colleges and universities. A post from DPS last week noted state troopers responded to campus April 24th at the request of Abbott. Those arrested, just double check and make sure nothing else has happened. Not really. They're just arresting them one by one. Nationwide demonstrations have taken place since October 7th, whenever Hamas attacked Israel, killing an estimated 1,200 people and taking over 200 hostage. In the months that have followed, Israel has bombed the Gaza Strip in retaliation, killing over 34,000 people, according to the Palestinian Ministry of Health in the West Bank. Yeah, they effed around and found out. They took 1,200, we'll take 34. They take another 200, we'll take another 34. We'll just do this until you guys stop attacking. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. That's what you do, isn't it? That's what happens whenever someone goes on war against you.
Everything has been taken down, and it's quite a mess. But you can see a lot of students, or maybe
these students should be arrested.
Encampment people who were protesting.
Hey, how's it going?
They're still standing.
Making sure they got out of jail.
months, refusing to give up.
That's what she would be doing.
Gina, does it look like
Yeah, these are not good people. Saying hello is my autocorrect just won't. Well, good to see you, Aussie Just Jen. Thank you all that have come in to check this out. Quite a mess, I would have never guessed. Yeah, we got nothing but love for these people here. You know, they're doing what they can to protest. You know, I think that they need to raise the minimum wage for these folks because I don't think they're being paid enough.
Still asking the question, where were police last night? Where were you during the riot? I think the university leaders in the days to come are going to have to answer as to how all of this got there. You don't easily hide, you know, a giant wood slab.
Right. Sure you do.
Something that they're going to, in the days to come, investigate and
no, the wood slabs were provided to them.
Encampment, really a fortified encampment, was able to spring up there on the campus, and that it was allowed to go on. We're going to bring back Gigi Graciette. She's watching as some of these arrests are taking place. Gigi, on Gina's side, it looks like they were.
You think it's might be a little bit on overload? Nah.
Well, from our perspective, the protesters are now completely surrounded, and that was the goal, sort of to contain them without the barricade, although some still have pieces of wood that they are holding up to shield themselves.
They're absolutely fine being here.
Are wearing helmets. They seem very well prepared. Many of them have goggles.
There you go. Here's what it looks like on the inside there. The police are just boxing them all in.
Being escorted out, not arrested. She apparently wanted to leave for whatever reason she had. The protesters are also.
They're all locking arms. They're just boxing them all in. They've already tore down this little section.
Chanting peaceful protest.
Peaceful protest. Yeah, that chant that went out the door. Here we go.
The plan is to continue to contain protesters.
Oh yeah.
You see one poster there with holding up a street
listen to what they had to say.
To contain them without the barricade, although
listen to what they say.
Pieces of wood that they are holding up to shield themselves. Many of the protesters, if not most of them, are wearing helmets. They seem very well prepared. Many of them have goggles. We see a female protester over there. She seems to be talking to police. Earlier, if you're just tuning in, we did see
last night I wondered why Just Dawn wouldn't respond. She wanted to get some rest.
The protesters are also, if you hear that noise in the background, they're also using bullhorns, and they're chanting different things. Right now, they're chanting peaceful protest.
Peaceful protest. Yeah, peaceful went out the door a while ago. Peaceful went out the door a while ago.
To contain protesters. You see one protester there with holding up a street sign, one of those sort of horses that they use to block off traffic. And it appears police are moving in to detain someone. You see the protesters there. You can make them out. They're the ones wearing the white.
We'll show you how much they've contained them, just to get an idea how much they've contained them.
Extinguishers off. If you've been following our coverage, you probably saw that earlier. You saw clouds of white smoke. Those were fire extinguishers that were in the encampment.
And just look at the destruction that they caused to this campus. It's just amazing. Amazing how much damage they created.
Behind this initial line there. Can you tell me what you can see? Is that
what's down to the west when you get a chance for that?
Yeah, they're just boxing them all in, separating them out, arresting every single one of them.
Are as peaceful as anyone can be that doesn't want to be arrested and doesn't want to leave the campus. And it's important to note on Wednesday the protesters were notified.
No, arrest every damn one of them. Arrest every single one of these.
To the protesters that they supported their right to free speech. This isn't about free speech. This is about an encampment. It's about not letting some students get to campus.
Yep.
Get to
this is how you do. This is what you do.
They are moving. Okay, they are moving in right now to try to get either through or to,
push them back.
Even more.
Push them back.
Protesters into even a smaller and tighter circle.
Yeah, there you go. This is how you do it.
Either that or trying to get them to unlock arms. because they do have their arms locked together to try and prevent themselves from being arrested. We saw several tug of wars as officers would take a protester into custody. Other protesters would grab the protester's legs or arms and yank them.
This is what you do. Hey, if you've never had to wear the right gear, you go in, the hard end of your stick, the tip of your stick is a very pointed piece. Jab that into somebody's ribs, they will move very quickly. They tend to move very quickly when jabbed in the ribs with those. And you just push. Don't swing, just push.
And so far, by and large, it appears that this has been peaceful. We have seen projectiles into the air.
That shit has not been peaceful at all. Don't blow that shit up my ass. It has not been peaceful at all. Yes, they need to free the tents. Free the tents. Free those tents.
Into something that is more violent. So perhaps, Gigi, even the pushing that you saw there was to, as you said, break apart those human chains to get them one by one, or maybe to move them and confine them into a shorter area.
No, it's really easy to break those human chains. It's called a taser.
To make this easier, if you have people all over, it's obviously challenging for law enforcement. They're simply trying
just go taser, and just start firing those little tasers at them.
But just as sort of a barrier in front of their hips to push people back and contain them. But the protesters here at the pro-Palestine camp, they're standing their ground. I don't see any of them leaving. I don't see any of them indicating to police that they want to leave, that they don't want to be arrested.
This isn't politics. This is live riots.
One woman, she told police something.
No politics involved here. These are just people rioting.
While we've seen many people be arrested or detained with
so far, this riot has lasted longer than January 6th. And caused more destruction. Just keep that in mind.
The line of protesters seem to have slowly moved towards officers, and so
keep that in mind.
Officers try to push them back even further.
They have pushed them back quite a lot. I mean, that
this has been going on since
than the people are now, and it was quite a challenge for California Highway
much
Patrol
earlier
officers.
it's been going on for over 4 hours now.
Pieces of plywood, tables,
5 hours, I think we're working on.
All of this was brought onto campus.
Yeah, we're hitting the 5 hour mark that this has been going on.
Now they had to know they were building sort of a fortress. It was very clear. Yesterday we saw them using drills and nails and hammering this
when
fortress
was
around them.
out on the bus? They told me there were going to be donuts and coffee. Bringing a fire truck with the hose, I bet they'd move. No, they wouldn't. But it would be funny.
And also interesting, Gigi, to see these protesters now.
Erection in the tents, yes. They are pitching tents.
Gas masks or N95 masks. So they were prepared for this, and apparently there had been a list of some demands or some supplies that they had wanted that came out yesterday. They included shields, helmets, and things like that, just sort of in preparation.
How many illegals do you think are there? Erection in their hearts. Well,
right, they are very organized. As a matter of fact, they have media spokespeople, so you can't just go up to any protester for a comment. They will tell you we are not media trained.
Where's my Soros money?
Although they haven't been quite welcoming of the media to be able to get their message out. We've asked many, what is your message? What is the message you want to send? What is the message that you're trying to transmit with this encampment?
Yeah, there's a good portion of these that are.
Shining those flashlights and those strobe lights at media cameras too.
After the arrest that we were seeing in Gina Silva's shot, that people are somewhat willing to at least give one last message.
Yeah, these are paid people.
They are likely to be arrested. At this point, it is inevitable.
Now they're saying, "Oh, we were peaceful." No, you weren't peaceful. You've destroyed the campus.
You can imagine a lot of cell phones on right there, so
so much going on right now.
Service is kind of tenuous there.
People are prepared for an arrest. These protesters, as we keep talking about how organized they are, how prepared they are, what they've brought.
Yeah, you want to see how fast those arms unlock.
There's something I imagine about the zip ties actually going on your arms, as we saw a couple people breaking down, like once it happened. On the other hand, these interactions with
the ones breaking down. Oh, I didn't get paid enough.
This happened at other universities across the country. They knew that this was likely to be the next step.
Children.
And most of what we keep talking about whether or not these are students, but it does look.
Oh yeah.
It appears as if many of the rest people that are being taken in are young people
wearing UCLA gear,
or just young people in general. I mean, I don't know if it even matters if they're students or not, but. Yeah, there they are, standing face to face with officers. So this all unraveled overnight as officers finally decided to move in on the encampment in the early morning hours, about an hour and a half ago. And there was that large barrier that had been erected by these protesters that continued to build as the days and the hours went on. And we saw lots of supplies there that were taken in and had to be dismantled one by one. These protesters working over the past several days to not just erect, but to fortify that barrier using tools, drills, nails, zip ties, you name it, to make sure that they built a very strong structure. But officers came in, and there wasn't that much resistance on the part of protesters when those barriers were dismantled or being taken down.
Absolutely.
It pretty much went down peacefully.
And, and it's still pretty calm, to a certain extent, you can see. But I imagine really volatile, many hearts beating right now, because it only takes one thing for a situation like this to become violent, to become chaotic. It's about perception at this point, because 100%. As it gets physical and you see officers moving these people back, if somebody falls, you don't know how the officer is going to perceive that. It's going to take that. You don't know if someone on the other side is going to actually get physical. It just only takes one small thing for this to go from 4, you could say, to a 10.
Right. We can only hope that it doesn't escalate into something that is a lot more dangerous or more violent. But all in all, it does appear that this is unraveling peacefully, and that these many protesters are being arrested without any incident. So it looks like this could take some time, because there's a lot of protesters there on the campus inside the encampment. More protesters also outside the encampment, as well as the standoff continues on the campus of UCLA. I think we're going to reset things here as we approach 20 seconds before the 5 o'clock hour. You've been watching continuing coverage on the campus of UCLA. Police now deciding to clear that pro-Palestinian encampment in front of Royce Hall. It began around 3:30 this morning, and officers moved in. They first dismantled that barricade, and then now are standing face-to-face, eye-to-eye with protesters. Bob DeCastro here, along with Brooke Thomas.
Yeah, thank you for joining us at 5 o'clock in the morning. If you're just waking up, just as Bob is saying, this has been going on for about an hour and a half, about an hour and 40 minutes so far. Police actually physically moving in. If you've been paying attention to this at all, you've noticed the officers, many officers have been there on site since, yesterday afternoon, you could say, a large number. And then they chose to move in starting around 3:20, 3:25 this morning. And now they have, for the most part, cleared the encampment. And we're just waiting for the next steps in this, which, our retired LAPD sergeant telling us are mass arrests.
Yeah. We're going to bring in Mario Ramirez, who's been live there at the scene this morning. He is just outside the encampment where other protesters have gathered. Mario.
That's right. We're near Kaplan Hall, and we've been watching this standoff between a few dozen protesters here chanting Free Palestine and CHP officers, several of them with zip ties. This is in front of Kaplan Hall on Portola Place, and I want to tell you what happened a little earlier. We saw what appeared to be an injured demonstrator being wheeled off on a stretcher here behind Kaplan Hall along Portola Place. We tried to show that as he was being taken to an ambulance, and some of the demonstrators pushed us back and unplugged the cord from the camera. So that's why we lost our shot a little earlier. But we did see someone being taken away by ambulance, appearing to be injured during the activity here overnight. Hey, Stephen, I want to bring you in here. I found a student here, not part of the demonstration, but he's been on campus for the past couple of days. What are you making of this happening here overnight?
I mean, we can't go in between buildings. It takes a longer, they're just now, but it takes a much longer route to get to our classes, and it's just very unfortunate.
Yeah, I know. Yesterday, UCLA officials announced classes were canceled. You're graduating soon. How has this really impacted you?
I mean, I got to skip a midterm today, so that's awesome. But it's really weird because I was a 2020 senior as well. And so it feels like the same thing. It feels like, oh, you get a week off, which is what UCLA is doing throughout this entire week, actually, tomorrow and Friday. and it's really scary because it feels like we're going to the same thing that we went to my senior year.
Interesting. All right. Thanks for your perspective. Appreciate it. So that is what we're seeing here with this group of protesters. They've been here for the last hour. At first, they were being pushed back here towards the Physics and Science building, but they've been in place at times chanting for roughly the last hour or so.
Yeah, that's an interesting point that we are seeing. This is the group of college seniors. They're worried about their actual graduation ceremony being in jeopardy as this happens, across the nation. And this is the same group of seniors who were high school seniors, and that high school graduation didn't happen.
Yeah, classes were canceled yesterday. It's, we haven't heard from UCLA or whether or not what's going to happen with classes today, but I can imagine that's in jeopardy as well. Graduation is not until sometime in June, so there's time for this to all play out before they get to any point of graduation. But it also presents another scenario here where you have students who he says he's not really part of the protest, that he's just watching. So you have people who are looky-loos or people who are standing by that are sort of in the mix of all of this, just watching things as they develop there on the campus as well.
But, one thing that happens in a situation like this is not the first protest that we've seen just in the past, massive protests. We've seen many of them in the past, few years or so. And so one thing that happens is once it goes from this kind of calm where you can hear each other, peace right now, to the chaos that the fear is to come, it doesn't really matter who you are. You can all end up in the van, including, unfortunately, members of the media sometimes.
They're not going to know who's who.
Right.
And if you're just in the middle of it all, you could also get arrested as well.
And likely will, and often officers say, well, we told everybody to leave.
Yeah. I think we have Gigi Graciette. She's back connected with her camera and her phone there. She's going to... Gigi, what do you see?
Well, protesters continue to have their arms linked. They are completely surrounded now by the California Highway Patrol. They're chanting different things off and on, including Free Palestine. They are wearing helmets and masks. They have their arms linked together. You might be able to make them out there. Again, completely surrounded on campus. This is all happening here on the campus of UCLA between Royce Hall and Powell Library. What the next move is unclear by police. We did see some people being detained a moment ago. As Mario Ramirez mentioned, he saw a protester being taken away on a gurney, apparently injured. It may have happened during a scuffle. There have been several scuffles. I wouldn't say this was completely peaceful. It wasn't as bad as it may have been expected. Thankfully, right now the protesters are not doing anything. One of them, though, did just set off yet another fire extinguisher in the back. We've seen that several times during the morning. They had fire extinguishers in the encampment. They would set them off. It would create a cloud of smoke and envelop the officers. Many of the officers' uniforms, you can tell they were standing right there because they're covered in white powder. But right now, there is, that tense calm that people talk about. That tense calm as the police wait to move in and begin arresting the protesters one by one. They're doing this very slowly. They're doing this very, very meticulously. I'm going to ask, it's going to be a little choppy. The photographer, Tony Butita, please turn around. I want to show what's waiting off there to the side. Again, it's going to be a little choppy, excuse us, live television. But you see there the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. That is their jail bus. They use it to transport prisoners, usually back and forth from jail to court. But the buses are standing by. There are several of them, and that is where those being detained are being taken. All right, let's bring it back live to the scene here on the campus of UCLA as police continue to move in to arrest the demonstrators. If you haven't been following the story, this encampment was set up last week here on the campus of UCLA and continued to grow. On Wednesday, the campus officially notified protesters that they did have the right to free speech. They also had a right to demonstrate. What they didn't have was a right to set up an encampment and also to stop other students from moving freely through campus. So this was more about the barricade, more about the encampment, more about students being stopped. At one point, we were told that the protesters were using an arm band method method of identification to make sure that they belonged in the encampment. And if you didn't have an armband, then you couldn't cross. Now, it wasn't a huge inconvenience for students, but they did have to go all the way around, and they were being stopped.
Yeah, if you're just joining us right now, this began around 3:30 this morning when officers decided to move in. And what you're looking at right now are officers now face-to-face with students because they spent the last hour and a half or so taking down or dismantling that barrier that had been erected over the past couple of days and fortified with plywood boards, with nails and other kind of rails and furniture, if you will, and all of that has now been taken out. And now we're waiting for officers to move in. We have seen some arrests being made. These are just being done, as Gigi said, meticulously, one by one, as they arrest one protester after the next. But there hasn't been one large-scale order for these officers to move in. And our police specialist, LAPD Sergeant Dennis Zahn, telling us that there are other officers at the ready should they make that decision to actually move in masse. And maybe that it presents a more dangerous situation or would escalate this situation. So maybe they're just doing this methodically and one by one arresting these protesters. Now, we should point out that these protesters have been on their bullhorns and that they've been chanting, and many of them have been chanting peaceful protests. And by and large, although some projectiles have been thrown at officers, it has been somewhat of a peaceful situation here. It hasn't been violent.
Absolutely. And, there are many questions from people, why did it take so long? When you talk about the fact that this was set up, this began, a week ago, typically, police don't move in and stop what is a peaceful protest unless there is a threat of danger, a threat of violence. And what we saw last night was actual violence. And we are seeing the ramifications of what happened last night. Now, officers are moving in and they're trying to clear the entire lawn, essentially, and still dealing with this idea of trying to keep things, I think Gigi described it as a chaotic calm, or is that what she said? But just trying to keep things as safe, really, as possible for everybody.
As we said, that's all we can hope for at this point. All right, joining us on the phone right now, we have former LA County Sheriff, Department Chief of Operations, Jim Helmold. Thanks for joining us this morning as we continue our coverage here. We wanted to get your take on what we're looking at right here. It looks like, Jim, that things have sort of developed here the way officers, the law enforcement there and the CHP had wanted to. One of the concerns, obviously, was when you had that barricade, what they could be faced with when they took it down. But at this point, it hasn't really unraveled or escalated into something that could be a lot more violent.
Yeah, good point, and good morning to you and all your viewers. Yes, it appears that law enforcement, they were taking every precaution to first make sure that resources were, staged into a proper position so that when action was taken, that it could be a safe dispersal of the large crowd. I also took notice that that the individuals who were behind some of the barriers were wearing goggles, thick clothing, and what appeared to be scarves in some cases, which, is an indication that perhaps they were looking to resist any law enforcement efforts to disperse the crowd, such as gas or pepper ball munitions and things of that nature. So law enforcement's taking every precaution to make sure it's a safe result while also respecting the right to free speech on the campus.
Many of the protesters there chanting, where were you? Where were you last night? Can you talk to us? I do imagine there are going to be many processes that are in review in the days to come. But can you talk to us about, why the possibilities of why the riot, essentially, that we saw last night was able to go on to happen in the first place and then go on for so long? Because now we're seeing, the reaction, the prevention, the hopes of last night not happening again.
I understand your point, and keeping in mind that what has to be taken in consideration by law enforcement is, collaboration with the campus leadership and ensuring that, one of the most sacred values, American values, freedom of speech, is honored, but at the same time balancing other students and faculty's access to the campus, which are public areas, and then course, at the forefront would be public safety. So at some point, they had to stage, the resources that were available to ensure that, in fact, there was a peaceful demonstration. But as it escalated beyond what would be determined to be peace and a disruption of normal public activity, then it would seem that, yes, as you're indicating, there should be more assertive action taken. And I think you're seeing some of that now, and it appears that they're doing an excellent job of controlling it from going out of control again.
So what's your take, Jim, on what is taking place right now? Because it doesn't appear that, there's officers in mass moving in all at once, protesters being arrested one by one. Is this another method here in terms of just being methodical and meticulous? And, what's the strategy here?
Well, there's a lot of things going on at work. First of all, to have all of the resources staged, which includes law enforcement agencies, of course, LAPD, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, to support CHP and the UCLA Police Department in their operations. So once those resources are staged, you have to take into consideration when you go in and move that you would have a dispersal of people, and you want to control where they're going so that it doesn't disrupt the surrounding neighborhoods, as well as the campus itself, that mass destruction could be done. So what you were probably not seeing behind the scenes, and I know your reporters are doing a good job of speaking to everyone at different points of the campus, but essentially what was happening was controlling of those areas, having triage in the event that there was injuries to any officers or any of the protesters. What you also see is they will tie themselves together physically using barriers, oftentimes, as we've seen in recent demonstrations in New York, where they're actually tying themselves together with cement and metal links. So you want to free them from those barriers, physical barriers, without causing injury. So you want to make sure that there is every action taken and every precaution taken for public safety while honoring that first right speech, freedom of speech.
Jim, I just want to ask really quickly, what are some of the things that officers can see? Because, again, we're seeing a one-by-one arrest as officers are typically trying to keep things peaceful on one end. What are some of the reasons why they'll say, hey, no, you have to go?
Well, certainly obstructing public access for other people, any violent actions, any disruption from students gaining access to their classes, destruction of public property, violence to other individuals. So these are all of the factors that are taken into consideration.
All right, Jim, we appreciate you being part of our coverage this morning. Chief of Operations for the former Chief of Operations for the LASD, Jim Hellman. We will check in with you later. We appreciate that. We're going to go to Doug Luzader, our Fox News correspondent in Washington, to weigh in on some of this. We've been saying, Doug, that President Biden has been keeping an arm's length from these protests that have been springing up across the country. Now, the center of these protests shifted now from the East Coast, where that protest at Columbia had been dismantled, now here to the West Coast at UCLA, and many wondering whether or not the administration is going to weigh in more on this.
The president has really been trying to kind of straddle this issue, saying on the one hand that he does not support violent protests. On the other hand, he says people need to understand the plight of the Palestinians. In recent days, though, and those were comments that he made about a week and a half ago, a lot has happened since then. And in the meantime, we've only seen written statements come out of the White House, and we've seen comments from the press secretary and other administration officials. But the president himself has been largely silent about these protests. I wonder if these images that we are seeing this morning, that you're showing there from UCLA, if this will convince the White House that the president just cannot wait any longer to talk about this. Now, the administration yesterday pointed out that he does have an event on Tuesday next week here on Capitol Hill, a Holocaust remembrance event that he is going to speak at. So at that point, this situation is almost going to have to be addressed, the rise of anti-Semitism in the country and so on. But it will be interesting to see if through the course of this day, the White House feels compelled to kind of deploy the president to talk about this kind of campus unrest.
You know, it's also interesting. We've seen Republicans vocal saying that, the president needs to speak on this. And you mentioned images. Yeah, there's, kind of two different directions that this can go. And I imagine they're both going to be impactful. The images of these mass protests on one hand, and then also what we are likely about to see, images of mass arrests of many college students, many protesters. That's got to have an impact.
That's right, especially because so many of these folks are young voters, and that will play maybe even a determining role in the November election. And, while we concentrate on these big events, Columbia on the East Coast, UCLA on the West Coast, this is happening around the country, as you know, and it's happening in our backyard here in Washington as well. There have been big protests at George Washington University. They have been largely peaceful, but the university there actually asked police to come in and get the protesters out. The police refused to do it. So we are just seeing a huge variety of responses from university officials and police departments across the country on this issue.
Doug, it's interesting that you bring it up because, yes, we're focused on these two big cities, but also, Brown University, the university leaders there have somewhat caved to protesters, a much quieter protest, and they're saying, they're going to hold a vote on divestment. They're going to have conversations about that.
As far as we know, and that's an interesting point to bring up, I mean, Brown, as far as we know, is the first university to make that kind of concession to consider divestment. And that's something that these protests have been kind of uniform across the board, demanding from schools. Brown went pretty far in making that concession to folks there. And, universities, some of them have taken a very hardline approach on this. We've seen that in Florida, for instance, where they've said, look, if you show up and do this, you're going to be out of school for 3 years. The other issue is how many of these folks don't even attend the schools. And that's something that was brought up in New York, the number of outside agitators, as police call them, that were showing up at these protests.
Yeah. All right, Douglas Zader, live for us in Washington. We appreciate your take on all of this. We're going to go back here on the ground. We've got Mario Ramirez, who's live just outside the encampment. He's been watching other protesters who have gathered there. Mario, what's happening now?
Yes, Bob, so you can hear the chanting, peaceful protests. Let me let you listen in here for a second. Peaceful protest, peaceful protest, peaceful protest. So we can tell you this group here has been slowly moved back by these CHP officers in riot gear. This group right now between Kinsey Hall, or Kinsey Pavilion, and the Music Library here on campus. We were just outside of Kaplan Hall, but they've moved us back slowly, and it seems like they are just trying to get more people away from that encampment as they continue to take down those barriers and dismantle that setup that's been up for a week now. And I will say, one of the protesters here just asked me what time it was, saying they've been out here all night, so you kind of get a sense that they are losing steam. Many of them have not slept at all. I want to just ask one of them. We don't talk to media. Yeah, I don't know if you could hear that, but we don't talk to media, so it's been very difficult. And the last live shot, we did talk to a student who said he was supposed to be taking senior pictures today, but that's been canceled. No access to the area where that was supposed to happen. But you can see this group of officers is slowly moving this group back. And I will say some of them have dispersed, trying to find another way around the campus. We heard them earlier shouting, more cops are moving in from the back. More cops are moving in from the back. And a large amount of them dispersed around the corner. So it seems like they're trying to figure out different ways to access that encampment. But from here, they are being pushed back farther and farther. Every couple of minutes, this line of law enforcement moving a few steps forward, pushing them back here.
Yeah, Mario, where you are, outside of the encampment, this has been going on for more than 2 hours at this point. So how far have they been able to move these protesters back where you are?
I would say at first it was 100 to 200 feet. Now it's probably double that. So they have been able to make some progress moving them off of Portola Place. We initially were at Portola and Dixon Court near the encampment, and now we're in one of the courtyard streets here on campus, again, between the Music Library and Knudsen Hall. So they have been able to slowly but surely move them back step by step.
All right, Mario, thank you. We're going to check in with Gigi Graciette now. Gigi, I believe, is actually inside the encampment now with some of the last protesters left. Gigi, what's going on where you are?
We are inside the encampment. There are probably less than 3 dozen protesters left now being taken into custody. And being inside the encampment, you get a real idea of what's been going on here. I mean, they are very well organized from, I mean, we just saw a bin with probably 1,000 batteries in it. Batteries for their flashlights, batteries for their lanterns that they've been using. It is quite the setup. We're going to show you more of that later on. Right now, you are looking at the last set of protesters. Again, probably 3 dozen of them left being taken into police custody as that pre-recorded message continues to play, telling people that they are in violation, that this encampment is unlawful, citing the different penal codes that they are in violation of right now. And you can see flashlights, batteries. I'm going to leave that right there. Just the different signage. They have a hand washing area.
Very interesting, Gigi, that, you know, it's hard to tell from these pictures on the ground because we see, you know, the wall of officers, the protesters locking arms, but only 3 dozen really protesters left. You have to think that this is going the way law enforcement and the CHP really wanted it to play out, which was to dismantle what appeared to be a growing barrier, a larger barrier, which could you know, bring in or attract more protesters and turn into a much more dangerous situation for people who are there on the campus. But only about 3 dozen left. You might imagine that over the course of the next half-hour, hour or so, we can see the rest of them arrested and being taken away.
That's right. And all in all, it was peaceful. It could have been, you know, it sounds like a cliche, but it could have been much worse. A young lady being taken off campus now wearing one of those orange safety vests, something that a lot of the protesters were also wearing. And as photographer Beauty to pan this way, here it says, protection kits for 6 p.m. tonight. Knee pads. We actually saw a lot of knee pads being thrown in the air. Ponchos, umbrellas, face shields, lights, flash and wipes, rags, goggles. Viva la resistencia, power to the people. Long live the resistance, in Spanish written. But this is apparently where they were coming for their supplies in preparation. There's one of those orange safety vests that we saw a lot of the protesters wearing. And you see helmets, you see the goggles, you see masks, food. They have a bathroom section. There you can, there's a huge pile of Kirkland toilet paper. You see the helmets they were wearing, and there's one of those safety vests that were brought in. They had a lot of support. A lot of support. There's wipes, more facial wipes and sanitary wipes, flashlights, packages of flashlights and gloves. Almost all the protesters were wearing gloves in addition to the helmet. There's another young man being taken, saying Free Palestine is the message that they have. There's a young woman being taken away.
Come back out and show around.
The California Highway Patrol taking the last few dozen protesters that were left standing, the last men and women left standing here in this encampment. What they did was they circled around them. They continued to make that circle smaller and smaller and smaller, and now they have them up against Powell Library. You can see the scaffolding. Apparently some construction was being done here at UCLA, and they've spray painted and they put up letters, Free Palestine. UCLA, I can't read that, something about genocide, a lot of signage, a lot of messages spray painted on the wall here, and of course the Palestinian flag, which we've seen many of them. And here comes a young woman who appears to want to walk backwards for some reason. You know, or is being walked backwards, unclear why.
Gigi, you know, you said it was cliche, but I think it was a really important point to make that, you know, this has been, for the most part, peaceful as things can be under the idea that there are officers there kind of standing off with protesters. But in many other situations that we have seen like this, officers have essentially said, you know, we had no other choice but for things to get violent between us and protesters. But here, the decisions that they've chose to make, the process that they've followed, there hasn't been much violence, if any.
That's right. The worst things that we saw, a few umbrellas being thrown at police officers, those fire extinguishers that were set off, one or two may have been thrown towards the officers, a couple of chairs came flying, bottles of some type of liquid were thrown, but really nothing massive, nothing, you know, all in all, and they've been chanting peaceful protest, and it's important again to note, according to UCLA, the message to the students is we will facilitate your right to free speech. We will facilitate an area for you to demonstrate, but you can't have this encampment blocking the campus because other students have a right to have access to the campus.
Well, I think that was one of their goals, Gigi. I'm sorry. It was just to dismantle this barricade, and given what happened yesterday with the violence that took place between pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian protesters that escalated, you know, this could have been or could turn into a much more dangerous situation if this encampment grew and grew and grew. And you know, one of their goals was to certainly dismantle the encampment, or dismantle at least the barricade, which it looks like they are successful in doing this morning as they arrest some of those final protesters who were digging in there inside the encampment this morning. We're going to check in now with Mario Ramirez, who is also there on the ground. He is just outside of the encampment. As we know, more protesters were also moving in on the outside, and officers there were standing off as well. Mario, what's going on?
Hey, Bob, yes, they've moved us about another 50 feet from the last time we checked in. We're now by the inverted fountain here on UCLA's campus, just outside the music library. And we can tell you the students here, or the group of people here appearing to be students, chanting, "Our university, why are you in riot gear? There's no riot here." So they're standing strong, linking arms, but they have been pushed back quite a bit. The crowd, this group was much larger maybe an hour ago, a few dozen. Now it's down to about 20, maybe 2 dozen. So it seems like the crowds are dispersing the longer this goes on, and more CHP officers did move in the last half hour and sort of circling around this group, pushing them farther and farther back away from the encampment that's currently being dismantled here near Royce Hall, just down the way from where we are on campus.
You know, from where you are, Mario, outside the encampment, as they're being pushed back, have you seen many people leave? Because it seems the people where you are have more of that opportunity.
Yeah, I would say about half of the group dispersed a little while ago, and you can see them being moved back again. We think that many of them may have gone around to the other side of campus. Of course, there's more law enforcement blocking other areas, but that seems to be their tactic, is going around trying to get other access. But you see the line of police moving here, and it seems like they're trying to move around Kaplan Hall here, or Knudsen Hall, to try and circle this group so they don't go down this way. But that seems to be their plan here, is to circle this group and slowly push them away, farther and farther away from the encampment. And it looks like they're headed towards the street where we saw one of the protesters being taken by ambulance a little earlier. So they're moving little by little, but it is working, and they are getting these students to move back slowly.
It looks like
they're
also dispersing students, Mario. We're 2 hours now into this when officers decided to move in, and from what Gigi was saying, she sees maybe 3 dozen, so obviously now less than 3 dozen people there in the main encampment area. Outside, you're saying 20 or so people, so very shortly here, we should see a real dispersal of the protesters there, and things seem to be dying down here quite quickly because these protesters are really outnumbered in a big way by the police presence that's there on campus.
Yeah, and they continue to move in. We're getting closer to Charles E. Young Drive, the public access street here just behind us. So they are continuing to be pushed back. We tried to talk to a few students earlier a few demonstrators, one who said we don't talk to the media. So a lot of them have been referencing us to media spokespeople, but they've been very hard to find out here. We talked to one student earlier who said he was on campus just kind of watching this. He had been for the last couple of days, and this is really impacting his final weeks here on campus. So we're seeing this group again be pushed back near the music library as more law enforcement. And I'm hearing that. Where are you guys headed now? Okay. They're saying they can't get out this way because the street's blocked. So they're kind of just reorganizing, maybe staying in place until they get moved farther back. But farther and farther back from that encampment.
One of the things necessary here when, as far as the clear messaging goes, hey, at this point you need to leave, you're going to likely be arrested, is there needs to be a clear path to exit for protesters who decide they want to listen to police and abide by what they're saying. Is there a clear path?
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're being trapped here on campus. There are plenty of ways out, so it just seems like they're trying to stay here and face law enforcement as they're moving closer and closer. But there are ways to exit campus peacefully here.
All right, more protesters being arrested as we see one by one. We're going to go back to Gigi Graciette, who is now inside the encampment as more arrests take place. Gigi, what are you seeing now?
Well, this is where the arrestees, the last group of them, are being brought right now. This is before they'll be taken to the jail bus. You can see officers with California Highway Patrol taking down people's names. They're also searching them. They're patting them down to make sure they have no weapons, nothing dangerous. They have those brown paper bags where they're putting any personal possessions that the people being arrested may have on them. The young lady with the head covering there off to the left, she tells us she is a senior here at UCLA. And when someone asked her if, she wasn't, some kind of question like she wasn't upset that she was in custody. And she said no, that what did it matter if she was free if the people of Gaza were not free? And again, that's the message that this encampment had. It was about free Palestine. The protesters here asking UCLA to divest from any possible investments or support of Israel as long as this continues. And again, if you're just tuning in to Good Day LA and Fox 11, the encampment at UCLA has now been taken down. And the last group of protesters, we're talking about just maybe now down to a couple dozen, are being taken into police custody. They're being sort of preliminarily being processed here before being taken to Los Angeles County Sheriff's jail bus where they will be further processed. Unclear if these people are going to be cited and released. That is usually what happens with protesters. Their identification is taken. They're given a citation with a court date, and they are ordered to return and to face a judge to see if they will be charged with something. Unclear if these protesters, since they are the last ones standing and refused all orders to leave, unclear if they'll actually be taken to jail today. So we will see, but the jail bus is standing by for further processing, and you see a female officer there patting down another female just to make a check, just to make sure they don't have any weapons on them, going through their pockets.
Oh, she's got earplugs in.
Belongings and putting them in paper bags, which is standard procedure when someone is taken into custody.
What'd you do?
We're not sure if all of these people
just
were
take them all out.
If they were just people from the community or what. Some of these people being arrested look incredibly young, Eugene.
What you do? This is how you clear them.
And yes, I agree.
Oh, look.
They all do look young. We've only been able to talk to one
That's
young
Antifa.
lady, and she did tell us, that young lady with the head covering right there.
No graduation for them? Absolutely.
Here at UCLA, she's not concerned, she said, with any repercussions,
anti-protest songs today.
or anything like that. She said her only concern is
to
get their message out. She feels that they did get the message out.
Sorry, I had to step away for a little bit.
Protesters in the encampment here between Royce Hall and Pell Library that
Hey,
are now
Squid
being
Pell.
taken into custody. So this shall probably. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You said, Gigi, last report, you said 3 dozen or so protesters there.
Give me a second.
What's your estimation now?
No, I did not fall
in terms of
asleep.
people out there?
I had somebody show up at my house this morning. needed something.
Against the wall, I see probably about a dozen. There may have been 4 dozen. It was hard to tell because they were surrounded. As we watched live on Fox 11,
Give me a second. I'll get down to you.
To take down the barricades.
Zach, how you doing?
To the protesters, and once they did, police basically surrounded them, making them into a small group as they took one by one.
So here's the problem with using like Rachmaninoff inspired acid K-pop. It doesn't give you that ability to use it because they consider it's like this is anybody that has like some sort of copywritten name or something like that. I can give it a try. It's gonna be pretty hard to, like, if you try to say inspired, it gets weird and crazy. I can see what we can get, but more than likely it's going to tell me that Rachmaninoff is not going to be allowed. That's usually what happens with these. We'll give it a try because you got your last few people here that are being arrested. They've put them all in their place, so this way they can go back to whence they came. They can go and get their mommy and daddies and Soros to send them some extra money, let them out, and then they'll be back at it again. That's what'll happen.
Rights. This is outrageous. First they throw a fascist mob at us. Now it's send the riot police.
Are you a student here at UCLA?
Yes, indeed I am. I'm a graduate.
No, he's not.
And I'm not going to let these undergrads face all this alone.
All right, Peter, one of the many last students being taken into police custody.
Yeah, he's a student.
The same from all of them. Free Palestine.
That guy doesn't look like he is.
And also a UCLA student. So maybe the last dozens were indeed students here.
I want to get your perspective.
And you can see right here.
Gigi, I want to get your perspective.
Go ahead.
Because this
Don't matter.
all began in terms of those officers moving in 2 hours ago.
Look,
and
look, sweetheart.
I stepped into the newsroom here, everyone
look here.
was unsure. It was
look there. Hey, Daddy, look what I did.
Before, when you had protesters and other pro-Israeli protesters.
Oh, look, Daddy, look what I did.
These protesters in the encampment, escalating into violence. So no one was really sure at that point what was going to happen and how this was going to all play out. But just your perspective now on how things have played out over the morning. This took place over the course of 2 hours so far, and it looks like we have the last
you can't do this to me.
Being arrested here. All in all,
as they should be. Every single one of them arrested.
By and large, peaceful.
Arrested.
Yes, it was a much different sight than what we saw here, and that was the clash between pro-Israel protesters and pro-Palestinian protesters. That was extremely violent, and we saw a lot of people with some serious head injuries. There were bats, there were poles, there was bear spray, there was mace. That was just a horrible night, and that really prompted officials to finally act. That prompted officials to say,
we're going to wait until then before we act upon
questions. There are a lot of people asking, a lot of LA City Council members, a lot of counties, a lot of politicians asking for the state of California, for Rob Bonta, the Attorney General, to launch a full investigation into the response of police on Wednesday night into Thursday
now they all
morning.
look embarrassed. No, they're not embarrassed
Tuesday
at all.
night into Wednesday morning.
Their parents didn't do
police?
diddly for
they
them.
Call in for mutual aid assistance from other
They
agencies
didn't
if
do
they
anything
were
for them.
outnumbered. A lot of the people here said they simply allowed
You
the
take care of
violence to continue for
we'll
hours,
see you soon.
and there was no police presence. So you can bet there's going to be a lot of investigations.
I'm getting
there's
this
a lot of
pulled up
anger
here,
that
so
the students weren't protected and that there was no law enforcement here.
I mean, a lot of people are saying that. We also watched it. We've video of fireworks being thrown, punches being thrown, furniture being thrown, back and forth. And it went on for quite a long time. That is going to absolutely be something that multiple different agencies are going to have to answer to.
And then from here on out, as these final protesters are being taken into custody, the university is going to have some decisions to make in terms of giving these protesters a safe place that also keeps in mind that you're going to protect the students as well, give them access to their buildings so that they continue on with their matriculation, that they will have another space for them to to use their First Amendment right and be able to
see what happens.
Protest peacefully on campus.
Well, that's what UCLA said in that written statement, that they would facilitate the right to free speech. They would facilitate the right to demonstrate. But according to them, it was all about this encampment that had basically taken over this part of campus. So we shall see. I don't think it ends here. A lot of the protesters being taken into police custody are telling us it's not over. We're going to continue to protest. And a lot of them haven't been. When we arrived here, there were anywhere from 200 at one point, I would estimate at least 500 people outside the encampment, supporters of those inside this encampment. So we can imagine the protests will continue. What form they will take and on what part of campus they will be, that remains to be seen.
Oh, we got something here.
UCLA is going to be
what do we got? What do we got? Oh, we've got. Well, guess what, Zach? It allowed us to do this. So we've got the theme music for this here, and we'll share it with you guys. How about that? There you go. There we go. Damn it. There we go. Yeah, this is for you, Zach. I'm feeling good, Cynthia. Why don't you just rest? Electrify the air, metallic rage harmonizing with the flare of flare. We stand together, united and strong in the land of North Korea, where we belong. Unicorns running wild in a land of dreams, finding paradise, nothing as it seems. Gumbo and Dichi. All right, let's hear the next one. We won't be silenced. Reminding of cause, fueling our defiance. Protesters pushing for a brighter day in the utopian land where unicorns play. Acid K-pop beats electrify the air. Metallic rage harmonizing with the flame. Stand together, united and strong in the land of North Korea, where we belong. Unicorns running wild in a land of dreams, finding paradise, nothing as it seems. Gumbo Kimchi, a culture of fusion in the land of freedom. Our hearts find resolution. How about this one? Migraine needs a noise break. How's this one? You like number 2? Okay. I'm seeing number 2. When I grow up, I want to be a protester. All right. mom's lawyers, and we're going to sue you. Well, there we go. There's our songs for the day. Which one did you guys like? 1, 2, 3, or 4? We'll go back to watching people get arrested. They should be arrested for vandalizing. They should be forced to do community service and clean everything up. That's what I think the punishment should be. And they should put them in ball and chain, and have them have to carry that ball and chain around as they're doing. Well, the real communism has never been tried. 69. All right. Long day yesterday. I was watching MG, and that's the last thing I remember. I can't believe I slept for 10.5 hours. Awesome. Is that a man, a woman? What the hell is that? I don't understand what these
are. Extremely painful. If they hit your leg, your arm, they could break your arm.
What one only hopes.
You
like one, you like two, you like one.
Arrested and
Let me do this.
Again,
I'll get
the
a
students were warned about this over and over. We were near the encampment for hours, and we kept hearing that speaker, the recording, letting them know what was going to happen, and they had time to leave, avoid this type of situation. And as far as we know, almost everyone stayed.
I should point out that this is a sound and video from earlier this morning, about 2 hours ago, just as officers decided to move in on the encampment. Live pictures right now of
got 1, 2, 3, and 4
protesters in the encampment being taken into custody. We have a team there on the ground, including Mario Ramirez.
Didn't actually hear 2 and 3 that well. Had people talking at you.
And watching
don't worry, we'll
just on the outskirts
we'll come back to it here
Mario,
shortly.
Now?
Come back to it here shortly.
Yeah, we just saw a group of protesters here.
All right, we'll go back to it. All right, here comes one. Got one. We'll play later.
Protesters pushing for a brighter day in the utopian land where unicorns play. Acid K-pop beats electrify the air. Metallic rage harmonizing with the flare, the flare. We stand together, united and strong in the land of North Korea, where we belong. Unicorns running wild in a land of dreams, finding paradise, nothing as it seems.
All right, here comes 2. This is 2. So this is 2. That was a little more gay. Now we're going to go to 3. This is 3. Psychedelic Angel, like the fast pace beat at number 2. Okay. All right, here's number 4. Nah, not much 3. Nah, I don't like 3 either. Okay, so there we go. There we have them. They're getting warmed up for, they're getting warmed up for Trump. Beats the cheat out of, as daylight comes into California. We watch as they are arresting the last of the holdouts and the fools that don't know any better.
Because they're special little children, and they're still wearing their little helmets, and oh, aren't they special?
Yes, they are having so much fun. How does the AI do that? I don't know. 1 is still your favorite. 2 is okay. It's cool. You can really hear Rachmaninoff in the music. That is amazing. Yeah, it's really amazing how they were able to do it. So we'll bring up the audio on this. So
Plexicuffs, you can see them there. They will be processed. They will be cited.
Look, he has a target painted on his chest. Yeah, this is so this is what's going on, and of course, they've pretty much just shut it down. They've ended their little protest, and now they will fade away into to their final arrest place for the day. They'll be out by noon, so they can gather up supplies and go do it again.
All right, it does sound as though the feed did lose audio
We got
there,
some
but
duct
what you're
tape,
watching
yeah.
is our Fox 11 LA team as they are covering this around the clock here. We're
what do
talking
we got?
about this standoff
Go,
over
be
at
brave and support your
UCLA
cause in
over
Palestine.
LA. Right
Yes,
now we know that
that's what I'm
multiple
thinking.
arrests have
Where's
been
all the
made.
beatdowns and
This has been an
tasers?
ongoing
I know, isn't it
situation that we've been
disappointing?
following throughout the morning here on Live Now.
Where the hell are
I
the
do wanna go
Avengers
over
watching
just
at
some
home
of
eating
the
Cheerios?
basics here as we wait for that feed to come back from our LA station. More chaos obviously unfolding here on the UCLA campus in LA.
As they
Protesters,
destroyed
law
the entire
enforcement
thing.
squaring off for hours with the protesters, locking arms.
Yeah, over 5
forming a
hours.
human chain they were refusing to let go.
Over 5
Law enforcement
hours,
agencies, including
and they
LAPD
finally.
and California Highway Patrol, seen
But
there on your screen.
1 was your second
We're seeing
choice.
it
Well,
dismantling the
we'll be ending the
encampment set
poll
up
here
on
shortly.
campus
So
and
don't
taking
you
the
worry.
protesters into
Don't you
custody.
worry.
We have seen dozens upon dozens of those
Right now,
protesters
you've got
taken
1
into
that's
custody
going there
there.
for a bit.
LAPD does say no arrests have been
And we'll
made.
wait
The
until the
previous
end of the
night,
stream
when
to
protests turned violent
get the
between those
final
demonstrators
tally in.
and counter protesters. We did see at that point firecrackers
Isn't it-
exploding. A
isn't it
person
wonderful
hit in the head
how
with a
they can-
speaker, pepper spray,
they can
bear
just
spray,
destroy
all
the whole
deployed, and
thing.
a lot of punches thrown. Here we are waiting for numbers coming in from LAPD. We should get those in a matter of hours, I would say.
In a matter of
You can see
hours, just
pretty much
hours.
the mess that is left behind from that encampment. It does look like we are getting that feedback coming in.
I'm
from
hoping that
our
a few
station.
cell
Let's
phones are
pop up the
lost,
audio
a few
here and
purses,
listen in.
cameras, things like that.
So then it went to the state of California, which is the California Highway Patrol. LAPD was here basically just
No, the state of California would be that would be the California National
appear
Guard.
to participate in any of the people being detained. They did not participate in tearing down the encampment at all. And you had the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, and they were standing by just in case something went
Yeah,
south and
they
extra
are.
manpower, woman power was needed. They were on stand by.
Man, what? Where did? No, I didn't see a whole lot of women there as police officers.
Very meticulously coordinated effort.
Oh, the stench there.
Look at this, because
Oh, look, they even got little air generators. They've got.
We saw for hours how much
officers
were getting out of there.
There's a good $10,000 worth of just pieces of lumber in there, and then you've got tons of tents. Man, REI sure as hell got to be making some money off of those.
Books. We saw some QR codes and said if you're bored, scan this code and you can read about Palestine. You've got all the different.
You can read the
tents,
lies about
blankets,
Palestine,
the amount of
right?
helmets. You've got all the food.
5 hours of absolute disgusting behavior. Yeah.
We saw
Peaceful.
food
What a
delivery
joke.
people arrive. We know with cartons of pizza.
Free plane ride and
for the
parachute.
protesters.
See ya.
They certainly enjoyed a lot of support, not only from students,
Yeah, this is
faculty members.
this
There
is
are
what they
many
do.
Faculty members across
This
the
is
country that
this is how they go.
their students and what they were doing.
But this was a mostly peaceful protest
Identifying themselves as students.
because they weren't going to let it get out of hand like it did last night.
Identifying himself as a graduate student who also
Don't care.
joined in as well.
Don't care.
So,
He should lose every single bit of it and be banned from the school. Simple as that. Should be banned from the school. Oh, you didn't graduate? Tough shit. Oh no, maintenance is going to be easy on this.
between counter protesters.
Maintenance is going to add. He's going to make so much money off of this. Yeah, maintenance will make so much money off of this.
Tried to get into to try to get to class and were denied access by some of those protesters. But all of those barricades,
Lost everything in tornadoes. Yep.
the furniture,
Vegan pizza with vegetable pepperoni and cricket dough crust. There you go.
taken down, and
That's a YouTube block comment. Stupid woman is getting hard to predict what they censor.
certainly taken down in a dramatic fashion. When we saw those
Yeah,
officers
that is
move in,
crazy.
It was a very tense situation, not knowing
All of
what
that
they
will
would
be on
facing.
eBay. Yeah, exactly.
Protesters themselves chanting peaceful protest, and for the most part, what we saw play out here this morning was
Yeah, look at the
by and large peaceful, with the
vandalization that they
exception
did
of
to
some
this
projectiles that
building.
were being thrown.
Yeah, and your free Palestinian protesters. This is what they did up here. They spray painted here, 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 here. All of this, all of this, all of this. Underneath all of these things, they've got tear all this stuff out. They spray painted on the steps. This is like third world country stuff. This is how they act in third world countries. Yeah, this is just absolutely abhorrent.
At some of the officers.
Nasty.
And you can see some of the property there has also been defaced.
Yeah, see? They've spray painted the entire thing all the way up through here, just destroying any free will that they could have gotten out of this. You know, what a beautiful campus, and they destroyed it.
As well. Oh,
and both sides of this on one.
And school, this is every bit of this destruction that they did. You deserve every damned bit of it because you let this happen.
Hand, the protesters were trying to keep people, agitators, out of the encampment. On the other hand,
Spray
there were many
painted.
people, many students saying, hey, listen, I paid to go to school here. This is my campus too. I should be able to
Tough shit. You should have told them no.
move as freely as I want throughout this entire
dirty
place.
smell of
I don't
hippies.
like what it looks like, how it feels, that I'm being told I can't go
Yeah, it looks like
somewhere on my
Skid Row.
Approaching the 6 o'clock hour here on Good Day LA. I didn't really hear what the producer had said. Are we going to?
Obviously, we have
Doesn't
Jenna
matter.
Melvin here to the side, and so as it is 6 o'clock, we are going to move on out and have them, come in and talk to you a little bit about, what you all have been seeing. We've been here since 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, this is the destruction that they did to your
Talk to us
campus.
a little bit more as Mel and Jen come in, just really about what you've seen this morning.
It's interesting. We're in Royce Hall right
No,
now.
it's
and
not
the cleanup
interesting.
is going to be substantial here. There are different signs in different languages. Here you have Black Bruins with Palestine, Chicanas for Palestine, Indonesians for a free Palestine. Viva la Resistencia, Viva la Palestina, long live Palestine in Spanish. From Puerto Rico to Palestine in
just defaced the whole
settler
thing.
colonialism. We stand against oppression. Here's a sign in an Asian
Antifa.
language, Latinas for Palestine. So you have messages of support from all the different people that were here. Latinas para una
Oh, look, you got
Palestina libre,
fingerprints.
Latins for a free Palestine. Los estudiantes mexicanos, estamos con Palestina. Mexican students
Every single
are
one of
with
them should be forced to
standing
get
with
all this cleaned up.
So you see just a little bit Black Bruins for Palestine, the different signs. Be the generation that stands against genocide.
She's
and
one
the
of them.
siege.
Yep.
Disclose, divest now.
This looks like Skid Row in California,
what
as
part
it
of the
does.
message that the protesters had
Yeah, they
for
leave the cesspit
UCLA.
for
This
a
has
better
been the
life
message that
and
we've seen across
everywhere
the
they go.
country at the different universities. The university students
All tuition's
asking the different
forfeited for the
colleges, the
cleanup.
different schools
Yes.
to divest from any investments they may be making in Israel
Doesn't matter.
because of the situation there. Latinos for Palestine,
Yeah.
free Palestine.
This
and
entire
on it
building,
goes. You can
they've
see Save
completely
Gaza.
just defaced
You have
it.
to sort of be careful because there's some not appropriate for television words mixed in amongst us, but you can see the level
No,
of
you
the
think?
cleanup that's going to be have to be done to Royce Hall. So there's also that factor. This is going to cost them a pretty penny to clean up all of this graffiti.
And Gigi,
Oh, you think?
Good morning to you. Good morning, everybody. This is an image that we haven't really seen so much of because this is up against Royce Hall on campus at UCLA, right? Like right at that entryway.
Yeah, I don't
as you
feel
would
bad.
Walk into the hall. That's where you are, right?
I don't feel bad. Every single one of them
Yes, it is
should
an absolutely
got exactly what they
beautiful
asked
building.
for.
You can see these beautiful high
All scholarships
ceilings
should be
here.
revoked.
And all of
Yep.
this is now, all of the walls are either spray
Looks like-
painted or chalked.
You
with
see
different
January 6th?
messages.
Yeah.
Not in our name, Jews for a free Palestine. We saw a lot of people who identify themselves as students and said that they were Jewish and they
No.
supported the cause. So you have Jews for free Palestine, we love you, Gaza.
No, you didn't.
We won't cease until Palestine is free. And that was a message a lot of the protesters being taken
Yes.
into custody. Here you see this beautiful doorway. It is all spray painted. And
Yep.
this appears that the protesters themselves barricaded the doors, maybe possibly to protect from police getting into the building through a back entrance and coming out the front. We did see police staging in the different buildings, but maybe this is why they barricaded. I mean, take a look. I don't know if you can make out these.
Yeah, they're
wooden
not
pallets.
Jewish. No,
And
they're not
look
Jewish.
at this. Actually, take a look at this chain.
Just because you want to
pallet is actually
identify
pinned
as Jewish
to the
doesn't mean you
pillar
are.
to be able to block the door. So look at this, free Gaza. Go ahead.
Yeah, the level of
Oh,
fortification.
look at this.
that
Aren't you
we're
so
seeing,
proud of it?
And how it played out over the last few
Just think,
days
sweetheart,
at UCLA.
if you were standing there
It
in
really
that
is
crowd,
something that we really
they
haven't seen much of, except for
despise
Columbia.
everything about you
the scale
and
of it,
would
the
beat
scope
you
of
to
it, the
death.
reinforcements.
Just so you know, they would do this
Essentially a small
in
city
Minecraft.
that's been set up around campus. Gigi, for those who are just
Of
joining us,
course not.
UCLA has become now the nationwide
Professors
epicenter
fill their
of these
heads and then
college
nothing
campus
happens to them.
protests in the
Absolutely.
last, I would say, 2 to 3 hours.
Exactly.
CHP's made very quick work of clearing out
Well, they
this
need to stop
encampment.
criticizing
It
what
was
damage
quite
they've
the
done.
ordeal. Can you kind of walk us through how this
No.
all played out this morning?
I want them to see the kind of damage
Well,
that
I
they
think
do.
this really starts. Today is
I want
Thursday.
the
We've been
world to
actually
see
thinking
what kind
about
of
it 'cause we've been
damage
here
these
so
people
long.
do
What
to
day
your
it is?
communities.
It's Thursday. So
With
Tuesday
no regard
night into
for
Wednesday morning,
for
you
anybody
had
but
a
themselves.
Israeli group of about up
No,
to
you didn't.
200 protesters.
No, you didn't. She's lying
square
right
off
now.
with the pro-Palestinian camp. Now, those inside.
This lady is so full of shit right now. She's completely lying. This was not pro-Palestinian. This was nothing but Antifa. Don't believe a word that she's saying to you because it is a lie.
Cars, bear spray, mace.
This is Antifa. This is Antifa doing this. This is the same peoples that went and protested all through the Summer of Love. The same people that took over Chaz and Chop. And
The
all that
violence,
crap.
the level of violence, I think surprised. I don't understand why it surprised police or why it surprised, I shouldn't say police, I should say the campus, given what was happening across the country. It seemed, and it was very well organized. Thankfully, there was not a lot of
It's well organized because it's Antifa.
resistance. We saw some things thrown at police officers, umbrellas. I don't think any
Yeah, she is a
were
disgusting
injured. That may
reporter.
change when it comes
Got her
out
makeup
later.
done, though.
No students. We saw one student. I believe Mario saw one student on a
It's
gurney.
like taking a
who was
course on Taylor
apparently
Swift.
Hurt.
Yeah.
Unclear if maybe in one of the scuffles.
People need to see
Fire
damn to show it was
extinguishers were
not
set
a peaceful
off.
protest.
That was
Exactly.
uncomfortable.
We
But
hope all
really,
university
no violence.
scholarships
It
and
was
visas
very
take
well
this
organized. And now
on the spot
you're
reporter
looking
as
at the
well and give her a
encampment.
front row
What's
seat
left
to
of it, and
Palestine.
we can imagine
Absolutely.
the cleanup will start soon.
We need to curtail free
That's right.
speech
All right,
rights
Gigi,
to pass
thank
the
you
bill.
so much for your coverage there on the ground.
That's
you know,
not what
a
it
lot
is.
of colleges
That's
around
not what
the
it
country
is
are
about.
taking a harder
That's what it
line
is for
against
them.
Demonstrators who are protesting the war between
Deport
Israel
them to
and Hamas.
Palestine. Exactly.
There have been thousands of arrests as Congress is now moving to crack down on anti-Semitism.
Organized
Doug Luzader
and
joins us live
funded.
now from Washington. Doug, good morning to you. Quite the scene out there at UCLA this morning.
Good morning, and
Yeah, it's absolutely bullshit, and that's the best way. That's the best way to look at it. That it was done intentionally. It was done to disrupt. It was done to disrupt classes. It's done to disturb the graduation that is going to be happening. Because once these students graduate, well, if they graduate, which I hope that they're not allowed to graduate. All the students that participated in this, they shouldn't be allowed to graduate. Nothing about curtailing freedom of speech. You're free to, but you were asked to leave. You imposed your will onto other people. Any one of them that was arrested that didn't leave peacefully, simple as that. Just send them right in there. Give them a nice front row to sitting in jail until with no bail. Should be kicked out and never allowed to graduate. Absolutely. Got to work now so these janitors can live off your tax money when they graduate. Yep. Because you just paid for that. So can't wait for your tax dollars to pay these terrorist degrees. Yeah. And don't be fooled. These are nothing more than a bunch of BS. Yeah, they've brought in the buses. That makes you feel any better, to load them up onto buses instead of, you out of here. Yeah, this is disgusting. Follow the money with all of them bailing out of jail. Yeah, that'll never happen. That'll never happen at all. That's not how it works. That is not how it works. And here you go. This is what led to all of the crap, because hey, you're out of here. All right, Puddletown, you take care. You take care. So this right here, and because we got completely derailed by all of this shenanigans, which we weren't expecting, right? Los Angeles, hundreds of pro-Palestinian protesters Thursday remained behind barricades at the UCLA campus despite police orders to leave, as officers were poised to move on their fortified encampment that was ringed by an even larger crowd, including supporters who locked arms with curious onlookers. Shortly before 2 a.m., and here it is 9 o'clock in the morning, police briefly made their way into the perimeter of the encampment, only to retreat after being outnumbered by scores of protesters who yelled, "Shame on you." Some of the crowd tossed water bottles and other objects, such as water bottles filled with concrete, as dozens of officers ran back. Later, the crowd chanted, "We're not leaving. You don't scare us." Armed with batons in full riot gear, California Highway Patrol officers returned about an hour later and stood within feet of scores of protesters who threw objects and yelled. More than 100 protesters moved from the stairs leading down from the encampment to block a side entrance to the encampment where police were advancing. Law enforcement made a massive display, sending in columns of officers who were closing in on all sides of the encampment. Members of the crowd flashed lights at the officers. And you have to understand that this came in at 6:13 in the morning. So they already had this story written. They knew how this was going to play out. I'm just showing you that this is 6:13 in the morning, Eastern Daylight Time. At this time, officers hadn't even really moved in at this point. But it's amazing to me. Huge numbers of police began arriving late in the afternoon. Wednesday issued a dispersal order. Empty buses were parked near the university, so they knew that they were going to be loading them up on buses and hauling them away. The ensuing police crackdowns echoed actions decades ago. No, it doesn't. Against much larger protest movement protesting the Vietnam War. Nothing close to that. Because we are not at war. We have a ally that's called Israel that was attacked on October the 7th by Palestinian forces. They fired rockets into cities. And when Israel retaliated, they cried like a bunch of little women. Mom made a YouTube post. She won't be on this morning. Oh, sorry to hear that. So sorry to hear that. The tense standoff at UCLA came after a night of after violence instigated by counter protesters erupted in the same place. No. People got sick of it, and then there was a bunch of fights. Law enforcement pressed continued warnings, stood in contrast to the scene unfolded the night before when counter demonstrators attacked. No, that is a lie there also. They showed up and there was fights that broke out. Fighting continued for several hours before police stepped in, though no arrests were made. At least 15 protesters suffered injuries. And of course, look. Oh, they were arrested, and if I'm not mistaken, she was back again the same night. By Wednesday afternoon, a small city sprang up inside the reinforced camp. We can't figure out how this happened. Now full of hundreds of people in tents on the campus quad, some protesters said Muslim prayers as the sun set over the campus, while others chanted, "We're not leaving," or passed out goggles and surgical masks. They wore helmets and headscarves and discussed the best ways to handle pepper spray or tear gas as some sang over a megaphone. A few constructed homemade shields out of plywood in case they clash with police, forming skirmish lines elsewhere on the campus for rubber bullets. Who wants a shield? A protester called out. Outside the encampment, a crowd of students, alumni, and neighbors gathered on campus steps, joining on the pro-Palestinian chants. A group of students holding signs and wearing t-shirts in support of Israel and Jewish people demonstrated nearby. The crowd continued to grow, and the night as wore on, and more officers poured onto campus. Ray Willinelli, who lives nearby, said he came to UCLA on Wednesday to support the demonstrators. We needed to take a stand for it. He said, enough is enough. Well, Ray, I will tell you what. Why are you there, Ray? You have no need to be on that campus, and you should be thrown in jail and arrested for as long as they possibly can. And see this guy right here? Oh, he's proud of himself. He's look at all the problems that my little group has caused. Elsewhere in New Hampshire, they made 90 arrests. At Dartmouth, the chaotic scenes at UCLA came after New York police went into a building that was occupied by protesters that were not part of campus. Associated Press counted at least 38 times since April 18th where arrests were made. All we need is a lot of rain, a lot of cold, and just make it miserable on them. Will they get soy IVs in jail? Yeah, they've got to get pumped up. This is also a smokescreen to hide all the issues in Europe. Large weapons in many countries, Poland, Russia, Ukraine, etc. Exactly. That's wonderful. Mo made post 33 won't be on there. Yeah. UCLA Chancellor Gene Block said in a statement, a group of instigators perpetuated the previous night's attack, and a group of instigators continued on last night. The head of the university ordered the independent review of university planning, its actions, and response by law enforcement. They can go suck a big one. Several students spoke during the news conference, said they had to rely on each other, not the police, for support as they were attacked, and that many of the pro-Palestinian encampment remained peaceful and did not engage. UCL canceled classes on Wednesday. How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? How would you like to be a student there? You're coming to get your graduate degree. You're this far away from graduating. And because you got some assholes that want to show up at your doorstep, now you're having to put your stuff on hold. Star Z, you're welcome. Off to your diabetic appointment. We'll be safe and lots of prayers, hopes and prayers for you, really. This is all playing out in an election year again, raising questions whether young voters who are critical for Democrats will back Joe Biden's reelection ever, given his staunch support of Israel. Who knows? Doesn't matter. Of course they will. Do you think they even care? No, they don't care who wins. This is all about the fight, the struggle for them. They see all presidents as nothing but just, a means to get what they want. I can subscribe to Squid Broke Well. Meanwhile, protests in campuses elsewhere were cleared by the police, resulting in arrests or closed up voluntarily at schools across the U.S., including City College, New York, Fordham University, New York, Portland State, and Oregon, Northern Arizona University, Flagstaff, Arizona, and Tulane University in New Orleans. And they should never open them up again. Like, don't even refund their money. Just shut them down permanently. Yeah, this is the fall that you see before it gets even worse. It will get worse before it gets better. It will get much worse before it gets better. As much as you like to think, oh no, it couldn't happen here, couldn't get any worse. There you go. That's what you get. Welcome to the world. Welcome to the world as we know it, the way that it's going to be, the way that we've got all of these things set up. It's not a pretty sight. It's a pain in the ass. But these college campuses are going to get exactly what they asked for. They may not like it. That's how it's going to happen. That is exactly what they're going to get. So with that, I am going to shut this bad boy down. I'm going to send you guys over to see the Broken Baker. He is doing more of the Karen Reed trial. Make sure that you hit the like and subscribe on your way out. And whenever you get over to Broken Bakers, make sure that you hit the like and subscribe if you haven't done so over there. These are really good people, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
Now I gotta call somebody to come get me because my car turned into a spaceship and I don't know how to fly it. I'm not an astronaut.